Once again, it's time to open your ears and expand your mind. Or maybe it's dull your mind. Either way, I think these boys have something to say. So sit back, grab a brew, we're going to have some too, and give you our point of view here on Talkin' Brap. Season 3, episode 4.
Ripping through them this year, man.
This one I think I'm just going to call Harley Wheelies.
That'll work.
I don't know. I can't come up with a better title yet. Maybe it'll change them.
Well, I hardly wheelie.
I hardly wheelie too. I do it on accident from time to time, and after I put the motor on my bike, I did it on purpose a couple of times.
And then now you're going to rebuild the motor on your bike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once again,
Rinse,
We
rank,
need
repeat.
that sound effect
so
right now
today
so bad.
we have a guest. Oh, I turned him down. Oh yeah, you gotta stop messing up my intros too. Oh, it don't matter now. You gotta wait for the intro to go away.
Isn't the intro done? You already did the talking and all that.
Yeah, it's like 3 minutes, man.
Give it some time. You got.
I faded out. I faded out as we get to, and then I used the second half of it for my outro.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, we brought in a guest today, D-Lo.
What's up?
He is a guy I met riding around Nashville with a bunch of the crazy people that we like to ride with, and
So
Nick was supposed to stick around today.
Your Grinder account name is Genzilla.
No, it's Big Red Rider.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Big Red
Yeah,
Rider.
okay.
So
Yeah.
is that what's your Grinder account name?
I'm not even sure what the grinder account is. I don't know what you guys are even talking about.
Oh, he's gonna
went over my head with that one.
real pissed off. He's gonna get home and look at Grinder and be really pissed off.
Or be intrigued.
Exactly.
Right away.
He's gonna be like, oh,
Maybe this is what I'm supposed to
all this time trying to be on the low, and now you guys fucked it up for me.
That's right. That's right.
No, so we get together on Friday nights. Last summer was what we call Friday Night Streets.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah, a bunch of guys that like to do wheelies and stunt, whatever you want to call it, their Harleys and even other bikes. But for large part, we were pretty strong on the Harleys.
Yeah, we've done Friday Night Streets in Nashville for this is probably going to be the fourth or fifth year.
Yeah.
And, it used to be real big before. I mean, the kind of the dirt bike and four-wheeler scene, they really screwed it up for us for a little while. And I think it's going to be even harder to ride the streets this year because of that.
Yeah, we're gonna find out for sure.
Yeah.
when does it start back up again?
The weather kind of permits it.
Yeah, probably pretty soon, I would imagine, unofficially. I mean, I would imagine the first test run's going to be pretty soon, in the next few weeks.
That's exactly
I'm
right.
trying to get my bike running and back together.
And what's wrong with it?
I melted the end of my spark plug and fucked up my piston, so got to build it
How do you do that?
Bouncing it off the rev limiter at 120 miles an hour.
That'll work.
Chasing who?
Sport bike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have a weakness. When I'm on my bike, I don't like being passed by almost anything, even if I know it's faster than
Fair
me.
enough.
I like to go fast.
Not just a Sportster, goddammit!
That's right.
So we ride around with a bunch of people. The majority, I would say, of people that are wheeling and stunting Harleys are doing it on either Sportsters or Dynas.
Yep.
A few baggers here and there, Ty and a few others. But for the most part, you're really in the Sportster Dyna world when you're doing this. And
Any later model stuff, or is it all?
It's all later model stuff. The 99 through 04 is the bike that is the pinnacle for stunting a Harley. The 99 through 04 Dyna anyway. I'm not a Sportster guy, so I don't really know much about the 1200s or the 883. But I know that for the Dyna, the FXDX or the FXDL was really just the pinnacle bike for doing that.
Why? Because of price?
No, just the feel for it. I mean, I think the carbureted units are a much better feel. I don't know if it's the weight difference. I've rode a couple street bobs in the newer models. I rode a 2008, I tried to wheelie a 2010. I like the way the 04 feels or the 03. I have a 2000 Dyna convertible. That's a great model for it. It's got a little less rake on the front end. It comes with a dual disc front rotor package already.
That's nice.
And it's really similar to the FXDX. I think the only bike that could be better than a convertible is probably the FXDX for wheelies and Harleys. I mean, and stunting and shit.
Well, wheeling Harleys is kind of like a end game. So how did you start? I mean, what did you start dirt bikes?
I think that a lot of guys that are really good in the Harley scene, not all of them, but a lot of them probably started on stunt bikes before they were on Harleys. And in the last, 3 or 4 years with Jeff or Seabear, getting into it and going mainstream with it. And then the East Coasting guys really taking off on social media. It's became a big wave, and a lot of people are transferring over to the Harley scene, especially the older guys like me, man. I'm fucking 32 years old. It's hard for me to bounce around on a stunt bike for more than 2 or 3 hours these days. I go home sore, but I can ride that Harley all day. I can get on the same bike and ride it to Gatlinburg, or I can rock wheelies on it for 2 hours, So having a dual purpose thing for me is pretty huge.
And I'll put a link to your Instagram on
Appreciate
the website.
that, man. Thank you.
And you can go check out his stuff. He's got a sweet bike. A lot of cool stuff.
Appreciate it.
Now,
Dude.
We talked about like the base of the bike. What setup stuff have you done to the bike to work for you?
I really just stayed as good as it gets. I mean, for at least what I think it is, Legend suspension front and back, Bassani exhaust. I went with the Greg Luke's 2-in-1.
The Bassani pipe.
And he's a great guy. I talk to him a lot on social
now, you
media.
do that pipe for clearance on the frame?
Clearance on the frame, or just clearance for drifting and shit. I mean, when you're sliding around, you don't want something that's going to drag the ground, and you definitely don't want something that's out past the rear wheel.
How tall did you go on the back?
14-inch shocks. Went with 14-inch shocks. Some guys go 13. I think that it's the bigger the better for the rear shocks. I mean, the more play you can get, the better. And when you're starting to learn how to wheelie, you really want to keep them loose and just kind of be able to get that bounce to make the tire hook. But as you get better, you'll find out that you really want them stiffer. I just had a wreck not long ago. You probably saw it on the social media. In North Carolina, I was rocking a wheelie. I dropped back the scrape, and as I was floating the brake, the shocks were just compressing, and the 12-bar got under the bike and lifted the rear wheel off the ground. And at that point, it was over with.
You run a bar-mounted rear brake, or?
No, I stock rear brake. Yeah, I run Lindell brakes though. I got to deal with Lindell. They came through, gave me a pretty sweet offer, and I did them all the way around, their pads and rotors, and just stock calipers. I did what I do recently. I did the Brembo upgrade, the Harley Brembo upgrade up front.
Oh yeah.
That's a good upgrade. Those I did.
Yeah.
You do have to run a little bit bigger rotor up front with those.
Yeah, he ran into the banjo bleeder problem.
I did do that. Definitely did.
He didn't have a banjo bleeder.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It's definitely we've all done it. That's kind of why first time you do it, you're like, oh shit, I didn't think about that.
That and what the rotors are like 0.3 of an inch bigger. So not all of the pad
they're like
in the brim.
330s or
They're
310s?
11.8, I think.
Yeah, instead of 11.5.
That's right. So Lindell, I mean, before I even asked him or even found out that it was a problem, Chico with Lindell Brakes hit me up when he saw my stories of doing the Brembo swap, and he was like, bro, you need those 11.8 outer rings. Luckily, I could take the same carriers, pop the retaining rings out, and just do new carriers, so I didn't have to, do all new rotors. But he sent them over right away. Super cool dude to work with.
Yeah.
Did you re-geared it or anything like that, or you factory geared?
Yeah. I mean, I re-geared it, I guess. I mean, I'm not really sure how the pulley transfers over to sprockets. Like, what's stock for sprocket setup?
I want to say like 52 or something.
Right?
Like that.
On a chain sprocket?
No, on a belt. But
it changes when it goes to chain drive, right, or something?
When you're going between the two, because your teeth aren't the same,
right?
You're basically going by overall diameter.
Okay,
is what you would go by.
You're on a chain or belt?
I'm a chain drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a chain's probably a 2449 on a diameter or a 2440.
Yeah.
Is it really that
You feel
small?
way better than I would.
Yeah.
So if you go to 52, it gives you more torque.
So I got a 55 on mine,
So
but when I
that's-
first did it, I
So
had
that's
like
what's
a,
helping you with
gear it.
wheelies.
Yeah, you way geared it.
okay, you can say it can help or it can also make it harder, because I found out really quickly that trying to wheelie a Harley, you almost have to finesse it up. It's not like a stunt bike. It's not like a Grom. It's not like a stock sport bike. It's not like anything like that. You want to rev the bike and kind of ride it into it. But the Harley, you really have to start at the lower RPMs, because just the slightest bit too much and the back wheels are going to break.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a whole night to get the front wheel off the ground. But once you get it off the ground, then you just kind of figure out where the teeter-totter point is, and you can figure it out. But it wasn't easy. So I got a 55 rear sprocket on mine. I would assume that the Vulcan chain drive kit that I bought probably has a 24 up front. Probably is that what you're saying?
Or if it's a 55, it might be a 23.
Might be.
Yeah.
Because if you had a 24,
Well, no, the kit. Let's see. The kit I ordered was a 58. But I learned real quickly that I was going way too slow in first gear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the bike will.
Yeah, you
I
probably
mean, shit. Yeah.
You'd
seconds
be
probably.
neck and neck with him in top gear.
I mean, shit. I mean, that was.
83.
By the time I got to the balance point, I was out of gear.
Yeah.
So it was something that I definitely wanted to change right away. So I dropped down to a 55. It helped a lot, but I'll probably even go down smaller than that. I've been talking to Lindell. They just dropped a new sprocket. The people I got the brake setup from, and they just did their same design, but with an outer ring sprocket. And
replaceable outer ring.
Yeah, exactly. So if you chew up the teeth, you don't have to buy the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's got like a circlip on it or something. You pop the circlip and you can.
That's right. It's kind of like a retaining ring that just goes around.
Is it Trask that we do that does that?
No, it's alloy art.
Alloy art. It makes the other one like that.
They do that too with the baggers. Yeah.
Super dope.
Yeah.
But even a lot of the bagger carriers now are bolted, so you can bolt and unbolt the outer ring if you want, and swap them around, change them.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and what's cool is they'll make the rest of it aluminum, and then the outer ring is steel, so you get
That's right.
you get
That
longer
wear
wear life.
characteristic, yeah.
What about
That's right.
tires?
Okay, so
I think they're really important.
I think they're very important. I think they're very important.
Are you a
And they're
Shinko
usually
guy
black.
or?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that the Shinko is a great tire for people to learn how to wheelie. The 777 is an amazing tire if you're trying to figure out how to get the front end up on your Medina. All around, no questions, hands down. Ask any stunt rider out there that's doing burnouts or donuts. The 777 is the go-to front tire. And even with performance baggers and shit, I think that a lot of those guys use that sticky front tire. But once you've learned how to wheelie the bike and you've learned the concept of kind of riding the RPMs into popping the clutch, you want to swap that 777 out on the back. The 401s, the Dunlops, they're super slick. So those are great for learning drifts and donuts.
Yeah, they're hard.
And you get more life out of them, but they're really hard to wheelie. The tire for me, the combination tire for me, and I've tried a few of them. I went through probably 4 or 5 different. I got a stack of takeoffs this big from my guy at Appleton Harley in Clarksville, and I got to try so many different tires by just burning through them.
Mhm.
And the Metzler ME 888 is the combo tire. It hooks good for wheelies, and you can still play with the donuts and burnouts.
Do they still make those, or did they?
Oh, they make it.
Did they upgrade to the cruise?
Well, the
tech?
880s, I think you're thinking of. The news are 888s.
So
it used to be 880s.
Right, but then they got rid of that and made the cruise tech. Is the cruise tech the 888?
Maybe, I don't know. That's a good
Because-
question.
Yeah, because
The ME 888. I know it's ME. I don't know
Right.
anything else about
when's the
that.
last time you bought one?
Probably 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
3 weeks ago. I probably go through 2 a month.
Yeah, I
I'd be
don't-
curious how that Bridgestone holds up.
Have you ridden a
I've heard
Bridgestone yet?
good things about the Bridgestone. I have a homie in New York, Jason Stetler. He's a killer, by the way. He rides a blue 03 100th anniversary. All he runs is the Bridgestone tires.
Yeah.
And
So that's all we run on our performance
that's what I run.
builds, just because they
hook
hook
good.
up and they corner when you look and you go to drop the shoulder and the counter steer.
Yeah,
It
The
just
bike's already
as soon
there.
as you look, it's already diving in the corner.
awesome.
We've actually had
Yeah.
people
Got a
who
good
are
pitch to it, too.
straight line riders who have come back and not
Liked it.
liked it because it is a cornering tire.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you're a cornering guy or a
I
heavy
wonder how
ride
that would stack
twisties,
up with wheelies.
it's grippy.
Is it?
So
Is it as grippy as the 777?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. No. It's nothing like that.
No.
Because they have a
Might be
little
a good
bit.
dual purpose
They
tire.
have a little bit harder center patch. So
Okay.
because you also like our touring bikes, even our performance bikes. I mean, Anthony Graham's got 150 horsepower, and he's getting like 18,000 miles.
And he's like 350 pounds.
Yeah.
And he rides.
He's like 7 foot tall.
Wow.
And I mean, I think we've only maybe put second set of those tires on a handful of bikes.
Says what's Grit's got for 12 grand, 13 grand on his,
and he's still running.
Yeah,
same tires.
Yeah.
Damn.
But they wear good. It's not like it's got flat or it's flat or it's paddling. You know,
that's what I like about the Metzler. It wears really even. It's got a good tall.
So
it's good. It's a good tall.
Sport bikes. I ran Metzlers with the Dunlop 207 GPs back in the day.
Okay, yeah.
You know, when they're coming out on bikes, but you get rid of the tire that came off the showroom floor. If you bought a new bike, get rid of that and put a new set because they didn't have that sheen from the factory. But yeah, the Metzlers were good.
I like the Metzler tire a lot. I went through a few of them.
I think the biggest thing with tires in general is rider confidence.
Yeah. That and finding something that fits your style.
Yeah, I think a lot of tires will do a lot more than people think they will.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're not confident, you're not willing to push it. And I was that way when I bought my Bridgestones. I gained like 10 miles an hour in every turn that I rode because I was so much more confident.
I thought that was the whiskey.
Yeah, well, that too.
Might have been.
Yeah. It's 3 to 4 drinks. After 4, I start slowing back down again because I'm like, all right, I'm probably a little too drunk right now.
Fair enough.
But like 3 to 4, and I'm balls out.
There's a really badass picture that's been floating around the internet the last few days. It's Fueling's new rider. Forgot the name of the guy, but they hired a rider for their bagger
series.
Their bagger series bike. And this bike is so far on its edge and the front tire is so tucked down. It's just at that point where it's ready to fold the front tire, but you know damn well he squirted out of that corner and he was gone.
Yeah.
Just a badass photo of what it's capable of. That thing is right on the edge.
What's he running?
Fueling's bagger bike.
Yeah, but what tire is it? I wonder.
It's some kind of Dunlop GP tire.
Yeah, they're track tires.
Oh yeah, they're running the slicks on them.
Yeah.
It's not a full slick. It had little cuts in it. It's got to be a DOT compliant tire, but they're like their GP race.
But they bring them
tire
to the track and they run those only at that track.
Correct.
Yeah. That's a provided tire.
Once again, Harley fucked the dog, and they want to sponsor a dealership now for
racing
for the bagger competition.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's already fucking underway, you jackasses.
Yeah, you might be able to get in next year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, next year.
So I think well, they're willing to help pay a rider $30,000 and $250,000 for a team. So I saw it on HDNet and printed it out and went upstairs and I said, Jamie, have you seen this yet? It was like the day it came out or the day after, and he was like, what the fuck, man? The season's already going. And I was like, yeah, but what about next year?
Yeah.
So Harley Davidson's wanting to sponsor a rider.
Yeah, for King of the Baggers, Bagger Racing League, probably both of them, I would imagine.
And I think that'd be cool if they got, because, they partnered with Vance and Hines. So, Vance and Hines isn't the Harley Davidson company.
Yeah.
So it would be way better for them.
Yeah, they're drag racing Suzuki's
to go back. And that's what they did back in the,
have to be the
flat
first
tracking
choice.
and the, the whole term hogs came out with the hill climbing in the 30s during the Depression. They had the hill climbing team and those were the hogs.
Yeah.
And all that. And, Harley used to sponsor all the dealerships for racing. And then when AMF bought them out, that just kind of
dwindled.
Yeah, dwindled away. And then they partnered with Vance and Hines, which is great, but fuck those guys.
I mean, seriously, we have to be first choice.
So the question is King of the Baggers
moonshine horsepower is a big deal.
Yeah, there's nobody else in the country building what we're building as much as we do.
So as 131 was the limit on the King of the Baggers, but the Bagger series, what's the limit for the motors?
I think
it's probably the same. I would imagine. Yeah, I think it's the same people. I think they're just
that 130 we built for Escobar would be a killer bike for the track.
Yeah, especially once we get that pipe done.
Because Escobar's was what, 162 and 148, but it was only getting 125 right at the bottom at 22, so you could actually put it down and rev through.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we got the same thing on Esteban, and Burns built us that pipe.
Is there anybody wheeling any modern bikes? Any modern baggers? Like
there's a couple that are doing it pretty good. Let's see. My guy Rusty in Memphis, he goes by Black Charlotte on Instagram. What's he riding? Like a 19? That thing is nasty. Oh yeah, it's dirty.
It's a good looking bike.
It is, and his homie, my other boy, that just moved to Memphis from Florida. His name's Taylor Stacks. He's doing pretty good. He goes by 901 Stacks, on Instagram. He's they're such good dudes too. I like to go out there a couple times a year and ride with them.
If I remember, I'll post all these on the things.
One of my coworkers back in Cali before I moved out at a 15. He just got a 15. He had a thunder header, a clutch, and a stage 1 kit on it.
All right.
And that thunder header was flat on the bottom from him.
Well,
dragging.
So
if
we move it along on the Dyna, we'll say, then you get a good set of tires, you get yourself a good suspension.
Oh yeah.
I think handlebars has to be your next. Look at, because like on my bike, I have like 14-inch apes, and you really don't.
Which is great to ride. It's comfortable.
Yeah,
it looks cool.
But you don't want to go up on one wheel on those, because as soon as you come down, you're gonna have problems.
What about when you get your fairing?
I'm gonna tie it to my saddlebags. It's gonna be tied in.
Hey, I know you. And I saw you eyeballing Coakley's little freaking trike wings. And you're like,
I mean, you eyeballing them. I fucking put them on.
So no pullbacks and your risers and your bars are a big deal. I mean, it is. I even going from 8-inch straight risers. I like the Biltwell bars. They're really strong. They take a wreck. You can bend them back wherever you want them.
And it's a good price point.
And it's a good price point. You can tear them up and replace them.
Yeah.
The bars I run are $99 or $100. The dealership gives me a good deal. By the time you work with somebody on them, you could probably get them for $80. And
what riser you riding?
Just the same Biltwell package. The the Murdoch risers. Oh, I run 6-inch pullbacks. So I had the 8-inch straight first set up, and found out when I was wheeling, I like the high bend bars because you can have a little bit more adjustment with them, with whether your height is or whatever. With the 8-inch straight bars, when I would drop back in the balance point is so high on a Harley that a lot of guys don't even really get to the point where they're controlling it with the back brake, because it's so hard to get to that point where you have to use it.
Well, you feel like you're falling over.
Yeah.
The only time
you're like,
oh yeah, it's scary. It's scary. It's hard to learn. It's hard. The hardest bike to learn how to wheelie on is a Harley. Yeah, by all means. I mean, maybe it's different for a Sportster. I don't know, but I know the Dyna and the
bikes are pretty easy. Harleys are just weighted and your riding position so different.
No, I meant the Sportster. Is that an easier bike to wheelie? It's probably easier bike to wheelie. I don't know.
It's
still pretty tall.
It's shorter wheelbase, but I mean, I had sport bike background, so sport bikes are tucked in.
Yeah.
So when you wheelie, you're still tucked forward.
Okay, I got
you. I try to wheelie a Sportster, even with straight bar, like a 8-inch rise and a straight bar.
Yeah.
Where I'd be comfortable wheeling a sport bike because you're tucked in, I feel like I'm going over already, and I'm not even 45 degrees yet because of the difference of the two riding styles.
Got you.
Because you're laying on a sport bike, so all your weight's forward, and you can kind of push down, and your rear brake's right there.
One of the reasons
when you come up, the rear brake feels like it's way out there.
Oh yeah,
it's trippy. So you end up chopping throttle and slamming down.
Somebody's pulling up on something.
Oh, yeah, it must have been.
Somebody check us.
No, but I like the pullback risers. I mean, it felt like it got the bars closer to me. When I was wheeling with the 8-inch straight risers with the high bend bars, it felt like my hands were behind my head.
Yeah.
When I would drop back and scrape or something, or getting to the point where I'm using the brake, it felt like I was really high. And I even looked at some pictures, and I was like, "Well, goddamn, them hands are behind my head." Yep. So I wanted something a little lower and a little closer to me.
Are you still relying on just your foot brake?
I use the foot brake. I mean, a lot of guys wheelie with just the engine brake. You'd be surprised how many Harley guys out there that wheelie, and maybe they learned on a Harley. I don't know, but are controlling these wheelies and keeping a steady speed. But you look at their foot, and it's off to the side of the damn brake.
Yeah,
and you're like, well man, I really thought that guy was, knew what he.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, but it's like, the brake control. When you figure out how to use brake control and slow down a wheelie, then you're at the point where like.
Yeah,
you beat the bike.
You can really kill it.
You beat the bike. You know what I mean? Like
that's when you're getting out of power wheelies.
That's right.
To actually wheelie.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Doing a power wheelie. That's where I'll be for a while.
A lot of people can clutch it up and ride through it.
That's me. That's all of us.
That's me. But to put one up and to slow it down, when
you can kill the gas, the gas all the way, and that so much don't come down, that's a scary position.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that point, it's either.
Brake.
It either comes back. No, it either comes back with the engine brake, because the Harleys have a ton amount of engine brake. So I mean, there's been a lot of times, I'll be high in RPMs, I'll drop back, hit the titanium, kill the gas, scrape for a minute, and then somebody come back on its own without even using the brake. Yeah. But I mean, I still try to make sure it's there. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, shit. I mean, you'd be surprised how many guys get back there and don't use the brake. But there's a fine line when you kill the throttle, whether it's going this way or that way. Yeah. And if it is going this way, you better make sure you know how to use the damn brake, because then you're going.
Well, especially down in Florida, the stunt scene in Florida was big.
Starting to be a lot of Harley riders down there, though.
And, on the sport bike world, in the stunt bike world.
Oh, yeah.
Relocating brakes, relocating throttles, things like
when
that.
When all that shit started.
Yeah, and I remember stunt wars in the late 2000s. I mean, guys are putting throttles on their tail sections.
So
and shit,
cool, dude. Yeah.
And going out behind the bike and just
so cool.
And they're driving there. There's like dragging and shit. I'm like, dude, you guys are fucking hardcore, bro. That's so badass.
So cool, dude. I travel the country a lot and try to go to these different rides. Yeah. And I've met some of those OGs that were riding in the early 2000s, back when stunt riding was a thing. Like they were getting paid $5,000, $8,000 a show to go do this shit.
Those guys.
Yeah, before social media, because now you can you can sit on the couch at home and watch this shit. Yep. And that's when people would drive 3 or 4 hours to go watch a stunt show.
Goddamn,
and now they don't. Man, it's died out so much because of it.
Speaking of that, we had a guy on the podcast from India. His name's Rohitesh.
No shit.
Padie.
Those guys.
And he has the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest no-handed wheelie. It's like 567 meters.
Wow.
Of a no-handed wheelie.
So my guy, Jesse Toller.
Shout out to Rohitesh.
Yeah, shout out to you.
He just sent me something about it the other day. He was like, it went through, because it happened in October, but there's paperwork and
there's a lot of shit you got to go through to get that. Yeah, for sure. My guy, Jesse Toller, in over by Cookeville, he's a Tennessee guy, holds the longest stoppie. It's close to a quarter mile. It's 1,300 feet.
Wow.
1,320 feet. Guy rolled a quarter mile on the front wheel. And the stoppie thing with the stunt bikes, that's a whole different game, because
Dale's supposed to be really good at that, isn't he?
And he rides with Jesse every weekend. Yeah, Jesse kind of helped him out and got him into that game. I mean, but Dale's a great rider. I mean, I wouldn't take anything away from him just because he rides with Jesse.
He's a super chill guy.
Awesome dude.
He's
Dale Moto 636. If you're not following him, go check him out, because he's super cool. He's a cool dude. He's a really cool dude. But yeah, Jesse Toller, he rolled a quarter mile, and Jesse Toller, and he picked up at 155 miles an hour. Imagine snatching the front brake and picking the back tire up at 150 something miles an hour. The thing with a stoppie is if you go too far
on purpose,
there's nothing to bring you back.
Yeah.
No matter how far back you go on a wheelie, as long as you're not on a Harley and the back tire comes off, you don't slam the 12 bar and the rear wheel comes up. You can always hit the brake and come back. Yeah. But at that point where you let off of the front brake and that some bitch don't come down, you got one move. You got one move.
And it's lead
20 miles an hour.
That's right.
Break and the back tire comes off the ground. I'm like, well, that's the end.
It's over with. Yeah, I'm going down.
All right. Love you.
That's it.
Yeah, I will never do something like that on purpose.
Check out him. If anybody's watching this podcast and you don't know who Jesse Toller is, check out Jesse Toller on Instagram. My guy is an animal on a bike. Anything he rides, he can get on anything. He's so concrete. It looks so effortless, every single thing he does. But he's just a great rider. He's one of those guys that was riding in the early 2000s. He's been doing it for 20, 30 years, 20, 25 years.
And you started on a Jap stunt bike? What did you start on?
So
what got you into riding?
Okay, so I got my first bike 4 years ago at 28 years old.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Shit.
Yeah,
nice,
no shit.
Dude.
I got my first motorcycle.
And you got on it and said, I can wheelie this motherfucker. Watch.
No, I didn't say that. I take that back. I got my first bike at 19, and I had it for 2 months and totaled it. Okay. And
what kind of bike was that?
It was not quite an R6, but it was like that F4i style Yamaha that has like the higher handlebars. What is it? Like a YZ F600 or some shit? No, it was a sport bike, but
not the FZ.
I think it was a YZ.
Yamaha's FZ.
There is an FZ. No, it wasn't one of those. It was like a $2,000 clapper, dude. It was a YZF or something. It didn't have the low, GP sport bike handlebars. They were up a little higher. It was kind of like the F4i, and I bought it for like $2,000. My friends had bikes. I was working down in South Texas, and I crashed it 2 months later. on some stupid shit. Oh yeah, I got hurt bad. Yeah. I slid down the interstate like 75 and in a t-shirt and shorts. And it was real bad. It was real bad.
And then he made the step and he goes, I know what I'll do. I'm going to slow down a little and buy a Harley.
No,
next thing you know, he's on one wheel, rocking down the freeway.
I was 19, man. I was 19. This was like 13 years ago or something, you know. I just sold it for $500 and I quit riding. I got into other things in life, and anyway, went through some other shit in life over the next 9 years, and I'm at 28 years old. I got my next bike, which I would consider almost my first bike. Yeah. It was an 06 Gixxer 600.
Oh yeah,
it's a great bike, but it's not a stunt riding bike. You know,
it's not really bike.
Yeah, that's a fun track bike. Yeah.
It is, but I did. Okay, so I started going to Nashville. And I started going to the group rides, you know, just to meet people and get back out and you know, just start doing something. And I started seeing these 3 or 4 guys at these group rides. And every time I went out, and who was it? It was Adonis James. It was George Ferris. He's a Hispanic guy. He's an amazing rider. He goes by Loco Stunts on Instagram. Yeah. Another guy named Justin Pennington that doesn't ride anymore. There was like Justin Dawson from Alabama. He was living in Nashville at the time. There was like 4 or 5 guys that, like, no matter what group ride I went to, these guys were always leading the ride. It'd be 200 bikes, but these 5 guys were up front riding wheelies and jumping all over these bikes.
George is a killer. He can ride.
Man, he's such a great rider. And these guys were jumping all over these bikes. And every time we stopped at any kind of gas station, I had no idea who they were, but they were the stunt riders. And every time we stopped at any gas station, everybody surrounded these guys and were like, oh man, you guys are fucking badass. You know what I mean? How you ride like that? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, I want that. I want to do that shit. Yeah. Okay, so I had this $4,500 bike that I absolutely destroyed trying to learn how to wheelie. By the time I sold it, I got like $1,500 for it. And I spent like 3 or 4 months trying to teach myself how to wheelie. Use the back brake. George kind of helped me out a little bit. And this guy named Justin Pennington helped me out a little bit and learned how to control the wheelie with the brake instead of just powering through it like so many guys do. And finally I got it, you know, just learned how to do slow wheelies at the balance point and slow it down. But this bike was almost destroyed. I finally cracked the frame after wrecking it so many times. And speaking of Dale Moto, I was like, okay, well, stunt riding is what I want to do. Yeah. So I went and bought a real stunt bike, like a bike that was built for that.
Speaking of building a bike for that, do you have like a motor stop? Do you have a aftermarket? Well,
I think there's like a pinnacle bike that's like for the Kawasaki 636, the 0304 or 09 and up. Really, the 13 plus and up is an amazing bike for that thing. I think that Jason Britton's had a lot to do with the Kawasaki becoming what it is for stunt riding, and the Honda F4i. The Honda F4i is kind of a pinnacle bike. Those two bikes, I mean, there's always guys that are going to build a R6 or build a Gixxer, or there's always some oddballs out there, you know, that are going to have some cool ass bikes and some super, super dope builds. But the F4i and the 636 are the pinnacle bike for stunt riding.
But on your Harley, you have any specialty parts like that? What is that thing?
That was kind of the next step.
The motor mount, I mean, is a big deal. The track or die case saver is a huge deal. Gotcha. That's a huge deal. If you don't have the front motor mount, you better have that $100 case saver.
Ask Nick about that.
Yeah, now Nick was supposed to be here tonight.
Yeah.
But he never does what he says. So
Nick. So I married Nick's sister.
Oh, yeah.
So they were dirt bike guys. Yeah. I started riding on the street, but I was doing a lot of track days. I got in with a lot of road racers.
All right.
So I learned to ride on the track. So TZ 250s, 500s, 600s.
Okay.
So
going fast.
Trying to learn to wheelie is something that's you don't do on the track.
It's almost the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Nick's a dirt bike guy and was amazing, like was racing, but he was wrecking and hurting himself so much that he kind of had to step back because he's that type of guy that just pushes.
Right.
He's all or nothing. He's Ricky Bobby.
So he's totally Ricky Bobby. He's either going to win or die. He actually got a sport bike, and he wasn't allowed to have one when his dad, Jeff, was looking to buy a bike for his, I think it was his 50th. And Nick was storing the bike at his dad's warehouse, but in the back. And like hiding it from his dad.
At his dad's shop.
So his dad come out one day and saw all this gear in the truck, and he's like, "So where's the motorcycle?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You got 30 days to move out of the house." And he's like, "What?" So he sold it, and then so because Jeff did that, he didn't buy a Harley like he wanted to. He just kept on along. So when I started dating Heather and we went for a ride, she's like, "Oh yeah, my parents said don't get a tattoo, don't ride on a Harley, or don't ride a motorcycle." And I'm like, "Well, don't tell them anything." And like the first dinner they had, she's like, "Oh, we went for like a 4-hour ride." And her mom's like, "Oh, that's a really long bicycle ride." And Jeff's like, "She means a Harley." And she's like, "Oh, we need to meet him."
Yep, immediately.
So a year and a half later, working at Harley, they trade in their toy hauler and 3 dirt bikes and he gets his 15 bagger, and him and his brother get matching 15 Dyna with the club style kit. Because that was when Sons of Anarchy, so we were putting all the T-bar, quarter fairing, 2-in-1 pipe kits out.
Yeah.
So I used to ride a mountain road.
Those fairings, boy.
Yeah.
I don't know what they paid him for that, but they sell the fuck out of them.
That's right.
So I took him up a mountain road that I knew really well for riding sport bikes.
Okay.
And they took me out dirt biking about 6 weeks before my first time ever. And I was hungover as shit, and I was just eating grass everywhere we went on a 450X, just launching off dry conditions.
It's nothing funner than riding a dirt bike.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It was great, but my first time, and I'm like, okay, I know the idea. And Nick's like, oh, lots of front brake. I'm like, fuck you, I know it's all rear brake, But we get there and it's dry conditions, so I'm like, all right, set the front tire in the rut, go through, throttle the apex. It was dry, so it just goes right. Like I just shot off the trail into the weeds. So I take him up in the mountain. Nick's like, just ride your own. I'm telling him the same shit he gave me. Ride your own speed. We'll meet at the stop signs. Nick's like, fuck this guy. He doesn't know that. And just smoked him on my Sportster up the mountain.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's a lot different.
So then he starts getting into the stunt shit, which he is amazing at.
He's a really good wheelie rider.
So
I'd like to spend a day, like a couple lot days with him.
So, but he left my
practices.
house.
I know
he gets no practice.
But if he did,
he practices
doing
every
transitions
day
and
he
shit.
leaves the shop.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
So, but he would like leave my house, and at the time I was on a court at the very beginning. So he'd go down to the end, loop around, and I'd be like 9:30 at night. I'd hear da 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 da, and he'd go start at the court. He'd be sitting on the tank, burning the tire all the way down the street. And it was like 3 weeks into having the bike, he blew the clutch basket up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure mine's about fried.
Just worked. I mean, tweaked the crank, everything. So we tried to get it covered, and there's a picture of him on Instagram on his brother's bike doing a wheelie. And so Harley denied the claim.
Yeah.
So while we're trying to get his bike fixed,
dude, his dealership fucked him on that.
So he was right. Well, it was the one I was at, but Harley, not the dealership. The Harley looked into it.
And where was this?
In San Jose, Cali.
Okay.
So then he's riding his brother's bike.
Hey, by Harley, you mean your service manager was?
Yeah.
Service manager's like, fuck this, man. We're not going to come to this kind of shit.
Exactly right.
So then while his bike's being fixed, he's riding his brother's Dyna because his same bike's just different color. And they leave the bar, and he goes to bang a wheelie right by the house, and he missed first to second and comes down super hard, finds neutral, comes down and broke the case.
Oh, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have the case savers.
Let me tell you something. That $100 part, shout out to Track or Die.
Yeah.
Because, and super cool dudes too.
The case saver?
They'll talk to you about anything. I don't know who runs their Instagram, which one of them it is, but for as many followers and all the people that they deal with, and they're a pretty big dealer, they talk to you so much. They'll talk to you about anything. You got a question and you want to know something about a bike, or you got a question what suspension you want to run, anything. They'll shout out to Track or Die, and the $100 part is worth.
Yeah.
It's
You're
weight
talking
in
with
gold.
the dual motor mounts and the bracket.
This thing is a little piece of plastic that's $99, and it mounts to the frame, and it just keeps your motor from going too far. I did explode mine one day because I didn't check the bolts, and I don't think I Loctited them right. Man, when I first built my Harley, I didn't know what I was doing. I've been riding stunt bikes and sport bikes for so long, I didn't know. And I was at the lot one day, and I came down hard, and the damn thing exploded.
I think I'm thinking of the Big Bear mount,
that's
what Nick has.
Big Bear, or is it?
It's Big Bear mount.
I'm doing the Chopper Hoss kit.
It's a full bracket that mounts to the tabs and comes over in its 2 rubber mounts.
That thing's
the touring mount.
Do that.
Uses the touring mount.
Do that
4-point mount.
and the case saver. Do both of them.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that you don't fuck shit up.
Yes.
I mean, excuse my language.
So that's the other big, handlebar is a good one. The next, your next
Motor mount or case saver.
or case savers,
something.
Those front tabs on the stock motor mounts, they will snap.
Plus,
right.
Dynas are notorious for having worn motor mounts.
We've all seen them welded back on.
If you don't know what we're talking about, then you don't know what we're talking about anyway.
Well, yeah, but right.
It's a notorious thing for anybody that's getting into wheelies. Somebody will tell you, hey, bro, before you try to wheelie that thing, get a motor mount.
Actually, that makes a really good point. So you kind of described how you got into all this. If you really want to learn how to do something, even if it's not wheeling Harleys or whatever, the best thing you could do is make friends with people in that scene.
100%.
Record yourself wrecking over and over.
And feed off of their experience and talk to them. Talk to people that are actually doing it.
Try to learn from the mistakes that other people have made before you make them yourself. Well, anything that goes with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of the reason that people don't is because they get intimidated that like, oh, they're just going to think I'm an idiot, because people don't realize that.
I'll tell you what.
You know what?
That's big.
Nobody just, Seabear didn't just get on an 04 bagger. And start, and start doing burnouts on the fucking California coast.
and
I will tell you,
we've talked about this, like track days, any of that kind of stuff. Like everybody had a first day they ever walked into the pits at a drag strip. They ever went to the pits at a racetrack. They ever went to a ride like this where you're doing stunts. Go out there, be humble, observe what's going on, absorb it, ask questions. People take care of you.
If you show that you really want to do it, then they'll start to accept it. But I can't tell you, dude.
Just don't be fake about it. Don't pump yourself up.
Not even necessarily fake.
And it's for sure, don't be like arrogant.
Okay, for sure.
That's
but
what I'm
riding
saying.
scene, like, it's such a small community of the people that really. How many stunt riders are in Tennessee? Less than 10.
I don't know.
15.
We've got maybe a half a dozen or so right here in Nashville. That are guys that are going to be there every week and actually show up and actually ride.
That really love it, or that are going to spend the money and rebuild their bike when it breaks.
And most of them come here.
Yeah.
Not just Harley guys. I'm talking about stunt bike riders or guys that really control Harley. Whatever. It's a really hard scene to break into.
So like you said, the dirt bike and the four wheelers. Now we've rode with them before.
Talk about that shit.
And that's rough, man. That's rough.
I don't know what I mean. Well, I have some good friends that are in the bike life scene, and they're cool dudes. But you know what I mean. A lot of those guys that get into that shit.
It slows it down and it causes nuisance.
That's the biggest thing. So the four wheelers will do this and do 5 miles an hour, and they have to be up front. You're like, dude, come on, man, just get out of the way.
I don't know. Well, I have some really good friends that are dirt bike and four wheeler riders, and I love those guys. But not all of them are like that.
Last year, he'd come in. He'd be like, "Oh, Jewel, I got some good GoPro," and he's like showing. He's like, "Oh, we were on the Nashville ride," and I'm like, "You guys are going like fucking 18 miles an hour." Yeah. And he's like, "Why don't you come with us?" I'm like, "Why? So I can just ride around a second gear?
Could ride my bicycle next to you guys."
I do want to make a point, though.
I already know Justin can wheelie a Sportster. I don't need to go down.
That's right. I want to make a point, though.
Edit the video and bring it back to me, and I'll enjoy it.
There's support. A lot of times, especially with Justin, when they get the track and stuff, I can't tell you how many times something has happened, and I was glad I was there to be able to help.
I know,
or like you to get here.
It wasn't those guys. It wasn't those guys. It was the fucking dirt bikers and the. I'm like, I don't want to go downtown. And have just the cops coming and chasing.
No, it was one of the bike life nights, and I'm like, yeah, you should go down there. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, Nick was trying to get me to go, and I'm like, no, man, I did that all like in. And I worked at Oakland Harley. We go to the rides and they do the sideshows and the cars and the bikes and and it's cool one time because of the atmosphere, but you don't ride and you don't do anything. You do a lot of stopping and watching, and then as soon as the cops come, then it's like a free for all to get out of there.
That's right.
I really like
find out who the rider is.
A lot of the same people went. I've only been in town 3 years myself, so. I like to ride.
You got to meet some people.
I like to ride hard. Now I like to ride fast, and I'm a turns guy. But at the same time, the guys that stunt and do stuff like that are usually good riders. You know what I mean? Like they know how to handle a motorcycle.
That's right.
But those same guys, we can go out and hit the turns and have fun.
Yeah.
So it was a way for me to meet people here outside of work.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it is.
And it was cool. And I live in Nashville, so it was so fucking easy. It's like, oh, you guys are meeting up. I'm out. I'm doing it.
And when you go on those rides, it's not this group that I'm like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
It was the four-wheelers.
Well, I mean, they're just drawing the attention that's not great. That's not great, exactly. Man. I mean, we rode streets in Nashville for so many years before that incident happened with the four-wheeler and the cop that got thrown. I think it was 2 years ago now.
Yeah, 2 years ago. There was good footage of that too.
I mean, I was on the ride. I was riding my stunt bike, but anyway, I'm not going to dwell on it and get into that, but that energy and that kind of negative is what shut down what we do, because we never got messed with by the cops. We were on sport bikes, or even if they were fully built stunt bikes with no tags, we're riding wheelies. We see a cop, we set it down. We're like, oh shit, man. Yeah. And then we turn the corner and we do our thing.
You know what I'm saying? My boy Cody sold his bike because he was popped a couple times for wheelies, exhibition of speed, blah, 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 whatever.
Cody who?
Cody Evans, you know Cody?
Yeah, dude. You know what's crazy? Cody? Small world. We're working on the same job right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, we're doing a job over here in Brentwood, and I'm doing this massive remodel on this house.
So you know we got a new bike, right?
He did, yeah. It's what is it? 05.
Yeah, he bought an 05.
That's right.
He did it.
Which is better than the 17. I mean, we were talking about it today. Me and Cody were talking about it, and I used to see Cody at the lot before I had a Harley.
Yeah. So and he got rid of it. He got chased off the whole scene too, because everywhere he went, he was. I mean, first of all, he said, "I cannot be on my bike without jacking my thumb."
That's right. And the cops are mad now.
They're crazy. And he's mad. Like, man, it got so bad.
And it's not just the dirt bikes and four wheelers. It's the damn the cars. You see it on Facebook and shit, where the street racers are slow rolling 5 miles an hour on Briley and shutting down all the interstates so they can race and come into a complete stop with like 5 cars and getting out of their cars and just leaving it all backed up because they know the cops can't get to them. Yeah. And then they're just having races on the interstate in front of it. Well, that's another reason. I mean, not long ago I had an altercation with the cops, and they were like, "Look, dude, the dirt bike, we've had enough with the dirt bikes and four wheelers. There's an ATV and off-road bike task force in Nashville, and they're over it. You know what I mean? And anybody riding a wheelie or riding a bike that's not supposed to be on the street, they're calling it in, and there's 15 cars and a helicopter on the way. It sucks bad.
That's the way Orlando
it really
is.
does.
That's the way Orlando is.
But it's also because it's not just the dirt bikes and four wheelers. It's the cars too. They've had enough of the street racing scene, and that's what keeps burning all the lots. Like we practice riding wheelies at parking lots, like industrial places. Yeah. Well, these car guys, they started getting the location of where we're practicing, and they're going there and having.
Well, part of the problem too is everybody does that. They go straight to social media and they're tagging where they are, and they're burning fucking everything. Like, good luck trying to find a good street racing spot somewhere.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's just,
and they're having these 300 car meets at our place that we practice at. The OGs in Nashville practice at this one place. I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna say the place or the address or nothing like that. But they've been riding this spot for 12 fucking years, right?
It's burned out now.
Now we can't. Now the damn place that we've been riding at for 12 years, they put speed bumps every fucking 50 yards because the cars are going there and racing, and some kid runs his damn Camaro off the end of the parking lot and wrecks it into the trees.
I saw that video.
Come on, man. I mean, just lighten it up.
But that's everywhere, because there's the mountain road that we used to race on our sport bikes all the time. We'd rip it all the time. And then a lot of the young guys, we call them squids that come up because they get themselves a new R6 and some jeans and a leather jacket. 100%. And they feel like they're fast, and they wreck into the woods, or they hit a car head on.
And call them liberals.
That's pretty good. All right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like one year we're up in the mountain, and there's
cops every 5 miles.
Plane and a helicopter, and they time you from because it's under trees.
Yeah, they'll have white lines in the road.
They'll time you from point to point and know how fast you're going, and you come into a straightaway, and there'd be a cop car that pull out in the middle of the road on a 2-lane road.
Well, that's in a group of 10. $120.
Well, you got enough time to stop. There's a group of 10, so half of you go forward and half of you flip a bitch and go back, and then it's a full race on.
Every man for himself.
Every man for themselves, full on.
All right, that's it. So let's circle back. We talked about engine mounts, handlebars, suspension, tires.
Yeah.
There's another big one.
A little bit more on suspension, really quick before we jump off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Talk about your settings on a suspension.
Okay, so
preload, your rebound compression. What do you like for what you do?
I mean, honestly, that goes by weight and by what you want to do with it. Yeah, I mean, are you a guy that's controlling the back brake? Are you scraping the Harley? Are you riding through it? I mean, honestly, I knew nothing about how to set up suspension on a bike.
Most people don't.
They don't. Yeah, exactly right. You buy these $1,500, $1,400 Legend suspension, and you go to the lot and you do a wheelie, and then you get off your bike and you play with it, and you click one of the 3 settings that are on this shock to one thing. All right. And then you try to feel what that does. And I couldn't tell by just one click. I couldn't tell what the feel was. So what I did was I went all the way one way and I did a wheelie, and then went all the way the other way and I did a wheelie. And I was like, oh, okay. They spring back a little harder at this way. Okay. So let me go back 2 or 3. And I just did that shit for like 3 hours one day trying to set up my Legend suspension. And that's how I found what I liked. And then I had that wreck in North Carolina. And then I was like, okay, that was the first time that I got to see the video, because Stunt News is a really big page on Instagram, and they started about a year ago. My guy Killicam is the guy who runs Stunt News. So there's actually like 3 of them.
He's in Cali, right?
Yeah, he's in Cali, but he came out to the session I went to in North Carolina. It was a huge thing. It was called You're Not Invited. And if you get an invite, you go, whatever. Yeah. And so I'm there, I'm seeing everybody, and it was the first time this happened to me. I got back on the 12 bar and I scraped, and then I scraped again, and I just he got a great video of it, because I was running up and down the lot. I think I was a little excited. My guy Killicam's getting some footage, and he's right on me. He videos everybody, and he's like on me for like 5 minutes. I did like 4 or 5 passes, and I'm bouncing around. I'm getting comfortable, and I get back on the 12 bar, I scrape, and then I go to drag it a little bit, and the lot that we were riding was terrible where I scraped. I probably should have even been scraping right there. The damn thing was on a hill like this, and I'm going this way. And the right Seabear mentioned he thought that the right side of the titanium grabbed harder than the left side, and it kind of yanked the bike in to turn it. I know that if you even watch my foot, I was fucking with the brake, because you can see the shocks compressed, so you know that I was working the brake, and I think that the tail got under me a little bit, and maybe the wheel came up, and that's what did it, because I was braking, but it didn't come back. Yeah. But anyway, when I watched that video, I saw that maybe I need to stiffen my suspension a little bit. And a couple guys that are well-known Harley riders that I talked to, that are stunt riders in the Harley scene, they mentioned, "Hey man, try stiffening your suspension. You don't want to do it when you're learning, because you're trying to get the tire to hook. So you want them soft at first, and then once you figure out how to get it to hook every time, and different tires that you like or whatever, and then you want to stiffen them up so that it doesn't dive too much when you're braking and getting in the engine brake." So at that point, I stiffened my shocks a little bit. So I don't think it's something that you just
stiffened it in the compression on the shock, or the preload on the shock?
The preload. Okay. The preload. Gotcha. Yeah, not the bounce back, not the compression. I run the compression all the way up.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, and then the preload is something that I can play with.
Yeah. How about the rebound?
The rebound, you don't want it to snap too hard. Because if it's with your weight, I mean, everybody weighs different. You'll bounce off. I mean, I haven't got my new Saddleman in yet. I just ordered the Saddleman with the gripper. I did a full custom seat for my Dyna build, and I've been riding just a smooth seat, which some guys ride it like that, or maybe it came with a Saddleman when you bought it, and you were like that's what happened with me when I bought that Dyna. I got blessed with a Saddleman already. Yeah. So it was, I didn't change it right away, because there's so many other things I had to spend money on to make this bike what I wanted it. And if I ran the rebound too stiff at first, when it would bounce back, it would throw me out of the damn seat. I've had a couple times where it bounced back and my ass slid off the seat because I didn't have the gripper. Wow. And so you want to be careful with that. You want to be careful. I think it's something that you always play with.
And you actually did I think a story on your Instagram about it, because when you finally do get up on a Dyna,
by the way, what he said, there's a lot of when I did my Dyna build, I did a highlight that's left on my page of all the important things that I did that I thought were important.
He did an oil pump mod.
Oh man, you better do it. What, were you there the night that I was wheeling in Nashville and my motor was like slapping like a motherfucker?
I was there.
I thought I blew it up.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah.
it sounded pretty bad.
Who was it? I think it was Ty that was like, bro, just let it chill for a minute. I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn, here I am. I'm 10 grand in this bike.
Yeah, he's 12 o'clock riding. Good night for wheelies. And we pull into the gas station and it's just
smacking, dude. Oh, God, here we go. I've only had this sumbitch 2 weeks and I done blew it up.
Yeah. And
just finished it. Or didn't even finish it, but here I am.
I think Nick and Ty, who had been through that before, were like, you haven't done an oil pump mod yet.
Bro, just let it chill for a minute. Let it chill for a minute and let everything settle. Start it back up. It'll tap for a minute, but it should go away.
So when you get
if you haven't blown it yet.
When the bike's sitting flat, the oil pump is on the bottom of the pan.
100%.
But when you get up into a 12 o'clock, it's on the side of the pan and all your oil's at the bottom.
100%. Now, I don't know if every Dyna model is the same way or if every Bagger model or Sportster model or whatever. I don't know if you have to do it on all of them, but I know the 99 through 04 motor, like,
it's all
setup. It's all of them. So
it's all of them.
It's got to be a lot harder in 6-speed. Because of the pans.
Might be.
A 5-speed, the baggers and
Dynas,
those are easy pans to get in.
I tried to cover everything that I had to do. Yeah. So it was a good one. If you are doing a Dyna build, check out my Instagram page. There's a highlight. You might have to scroll over because there's a bunch of them. I do trips and places I've been and shit like that. I leave them as like little highlights that people can watch. And I did the oil pickup mod and I showed how I do it. I showed the parts I bought. I showed how you drop the pan. There's one little bolt that you got to get to that's in between the frame and the pan that you have to cut an Allen head like this high on the L end and do a damn quarter turn at a time. It took me 30 minutes to get this one damn bolt out and put back in. But
you did. I have to give
better
credit.
Do it though.
He took his time and he did it.
I did.
I was like, hey, you know what? Now I have close quarters bits and things.
Yeah.
You know,
we got tools,
especially tools. Yeah.
But what tool gets in there? You tell me what tool gets in between the frame this far.
I have a 360 ratchet that big.
Okay, don't tell. Hey, bring your shit to Harley Davidson in Cold Springs.
Right. Job security. Job security.
So for the most part, if you factor in all that, especially on a Dyna. Now, obviously, I always love to promote the sporties, and it's the reason why. I'm really surprised that more guys don't start on sporties.
Okay, if I wouldn't have been a wheelie guy already, I would have.
But I'll tell you why they don't. Instagram.
But Sportsters are.
I want a wheelie.
Dynas look cool.
People hate on sporties all day long, bro.
They do.
Sportsters are oil back.
Who has an Instagram
reservoir?
Who's a wheelie guy on a Sportster that has an Instagram page?
That's actually killing it.
Wow.
How many?
None.
That's why.
Because Gringo, Justin,
he's doing pretty good.
Justin,
really,
that's it.
No, there's a few in Florida that are riding Sportsters that are pretty good.
There's the guy at East Coastin that lit his on fire, just fucking killing that thing. Yeah, that shit was.
He's a damn trick.
Though it's not whether or not the bikes are good at it. It's just that Sportsters have this weird moniker of being a girl's bike.
Yeah.
But nobody.
That's how I'm gonna sell it. I'm trying to teach my girl how to wheelie. I'm gonna be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got the Sportster for her.
I'm telling you, I'll have so much fun.
What's funny is
I'm gonna ride the shit out of it.
Until maybe a couple years ago, it had the tallest profile.
You're right,
Harley.
That's right.
Yeah. It had the best.
Front end most of the front ends are what? Yeah. Dual rotor? Well, not all of them.
And that's harder to come by. Yeah, some of them were.
If you want dual rotors, I don't know.
I mean, you're gonna do tire, suspension,
brakes.
Maybe brakes depending on the year.
That is their race bike.
Yeah.
And they haven't, and they did such a good job with the original design that they haven't changed it in 58 years now.
Something like that. 57, wasn't it?
57 years. That. And I think it's going to come to an end now with this new 1200 Revolution X platform. So
what a platform that is.
The Sportsters are probably going to go away here in the next.
You guys have spoke so much language that even like people probably think this guy rides the fuck out of that Dyna. He probably knows everything about our. I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
Well, a lot of my listeners are actually Harley techs.
I love the Harley scene. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it to anybody who doesn't own one.
You can't.
But you can.
talked about this, and I said I've owned Kawasaki's, I've owned metric bikes.
It's nothing like
and I've
this.
owned a Harley, and there is it's a whole different world.
I've debated totally from January 1st until now, or whenever the winter season started. Maybe it was in November, whatever. I've debated selling my stunt bike. Been riding it for 3 years. I love it, but there's nothing like the Harleys, man, and what it's becoming. Well, with certain things,
because he'll go out and do the shows and whatnot, and he was out like at a drag strip doing some stunt shows or whatever, and he's like,
everybody loved the Harley.
Yeah, he's like, I can bring the stunt bike out and do the craziest shit.
Okay.
Nobody gives a fuck. He's like,
I got
as
another
soon
one
as
for
I
you.
break the Harley out, he's like, everybody there is going crazy.
I don't care if it's the fully built.
Because you can relate.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a fully built stunt bike, all the works, the best cage, the best handbrake system, the best subframe, all that shit. You put all the best money into it, okay? And you buy all these best parts. And you're on the street riding a wheelie. I don't care who you are or how good you are at it. As soon as you ride a wheelie on that stunt bike, somebody's going to be like, this fucking asshole. You know what I'm saying? But if you're on a Dyna and you're at the stoplight and you clutch up this damn Harley to a 12 o'clock and scrape that motherfucker, this stomach is 75 years old in the Honda Civic next to you, and he's like, whoa! That was badass.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's true. It's Friday nights, dude. People will come out the streets and be like,
I fucking love that shit.
It's fun. Yeah.
It's because Harley Davidson is America.
Damn right.
You know, I mean,
it is. It's a symbol. It's a symbol.
That is probably one of the last remaining America.
Aside from that, it's so much fun.
I think it's an automatic recognition of technicality. So like,
okay, you just went way too.
If you get on a purpose, if I get on a dirt bike,
that's right.
If I get on a dirt bike and I go ride through the dirt,
it's supposed to do that.
It's supposed to do that. So
right.
Big deal.
Exactly.
Now, if you get on a bagger and go ride through that dirt, all right, that's pretty interesting.
It's the same thing.
Cool.
Like,
and it works the same way.
When you take a stunt plane and you fly it upside down, you go, okay, fuck that guy.
Yeah, you take a 747.
You turn that bitch upside down, you're like, fuck yeah, that guy's a
shit. Jack Ryan is a terrorist.
We talked about this.
That guy's fucking awesome.
Friday Night Streets. We ride around. When you see a group of 6 or 8 guys on stunt bikes, you know exactly what they're doing.
You know what you're about to see.
Without question.
Yeah.
And it's not that, hey, big deal, dude. You did a wheelie on a stunt bike. Go do that shit somewhere else.
Oh, he can do that because it's
now
a stunt
you ride
bike.
around in a pack of Harleys. The cops see you. Are they doing wheelies? You know what I mean? They're on Harleys.
Title's going around on a bagger, and then all of a sudden bangs one. He's like,
And then when you see him do it, do you get mad?
I can't wait to get one.
Do you get mad, or are you like, damn, that motherfucker just wheelied a road glide?
I'll say something. Hey, 2 years ago, even on the stunt bikes, I had a cop pull up to us one night at the gas station, and he was like, okay, guys, I just followed you guys all the way down Murfreesboro Road. That was fucking dope. You guys are killing it, dude. All right.
Stop.
It's the same way in the mountains. When I'd be ripping my sport bike and they'd hear me coming through the canyon and I'd come up to the stop and there'd be a cop sitting there.
Sometimes
he'd just be like, I heard you in third gear. On a sport bike in third gear, you're doing 100 plus. Right?
100%.
But then I roll up on my Sportster, winding out in third gear, and I roll up and I downshift and look over and it's like, oh, it's a Sportster. You weren't going that fast.
Or you weren't wheeling that thing.
Yeah, no, I was fucking ripping the shit out of it.
So my little altercation
behind me, I passed them.
My little cop altercation I had not long ago, and we got stopped, and I was with a bunch of guys riding wheelies, and they were like, what? They were so mad, right? And they're trying to figure out who every single person was. And I was like, I don't know any of those guys. I just met all those guys at the Exxon on Broadway, okay? And but they're like, and I was like, dude, I'm riding a Harley. What do you think I was wheeling? I was riding wheelies on it. And there was one cop out of 13 of them that was like, oh yeah, I see that fucking, what's that plate on the back of your damn Harley? I saw it. You're trying to tell me you weren't riding wheelies?
You have a fucking titanium plate on the back of your bike.
That's scraped up. And I can just tell I've been dragging that motherfucker.
That fool knew you from Instagram.
Maybe.
That guy's jockeying so hard, dude.
One of them
He's like,
out of 13.
I follow you on Instagram, man.
One of the cops out of 13 was like,
I don't know.
But the rest of them were like, hey, all right, yeah. And they were about they were like, all right, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And they were.
I always said when we were out riding, I'm like, dude, I ain't got shit on me. I ain't got no warrants. I'm legal as fuck. If the cops pull up,
I'm on a Harley Davidson.
over, I'm pulling over. Y'all can run. I don't give a shit. I'll pull over. You know what I mean? Like
that's what we did.
Fuck with me, dude. Y'all go. I'll pull over, dude. I don't care.
My girl did. We stopped. Everybody else ran. Yeah. And they tried to chase them, and they got away. And
yeah, man. I don't know. I just met him at the gas station.
Damn right.
Hey, dude, it looked like a bunch of cool people to ride with. Dude, I was just following.
They were like, "Yeah, come watch the show," and I was like, "Fuck yeah,
yeah." You know what I mean? That's right. Yeah.
Check it out.
You know, I was bored out riding my bike, man. You know, and it's not even.
Anyway, that scenario is on a Harley. Maybe you get away with that. I don't know, but
yeah,
it was cool. But I mean, you know, the Harleys are getting more people are knowing that they might be doing something on that Harley because it's becoming like a wave that's
well, and I think that's awesome. And the thing that really sucks about Harley, it takes, you know, like when you were saying that Harley Davidson jacked his warranty with somebody, the Harley Davidson, they don't have any fucking idea what any of this is. And I'm pretty sure, because I talk to them all the time and basically tell them to go fucking get bent all the time. They don't even know.
It's hilarious.
They don't even know what
Harley is pretty wagged. I mean,
they don't even know what we. Well, they're engineers, you know, and half these engineers, man, they work for Ford.
I was talking to Appleton about just doing like a big Appleton decal because they give me a lot of support. You know, they really help me out. You know, on my builds and shit. And I got a lot. Know everybody that works there, and we're in the hog chapter up there, whatever. And I was talking to him about, well, what can I do for you guys? Can I do an Appleton Harley Davidson, you know, logo on the back of my trailer? Can I help promote for you guys? What can I do? And they were like, nah, Harley Davidson's got a lot of things you got to go through.
Because they'll go after them. Because what'll happen is what Harley does.
I didn't know what they meant.
Go after trademark. And
that's it, dude. Yeah.
So when you're
that's what they said.
So they actually have people that scour the internet and look for people ripping off their trademarks.
Okay.
So if you put like Harley Davidson paraphernalia on your motorcycle, whatever, then you're doing a wheelie and it says Appleton's, then Harley calls Appleton and says, who's this guy breaking the law with your name?
Okay, well, tell me how the hell Jeff gets away with it with having 3 or 4 Harley Davidson dealerships backing him and Seabear and doing damn.
Oh, he doesn't. Harley Davidson's not doing it.
Harley Davidson didn't do his work.
He does now.
HPI built his motor.
HPI built his motor.
HPI built his motor.
He deals with all these side companies.
Yeah. So
he's a cool friend of mine. I mean, I talk to him a lot. You know what I mean?
And we have.
I never asked him that question.
And what we do, we don't do with. It's not Moonshine Harley Davidson. It's Moonshine horsepower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So if you guys build my motor and I'm out there fucking thrashing it, doing some wheelies, it's not anything to do with HD.
And hey, you're goddamn right. We'll get you a T-shirt, but there's no HD anywhere on that shirt.
But at the same time, when Jamie was trying to get Moonshine as a dealership, they were like, "Oh, well, we can't have drinking repped with Harley Davidson."
Yeah, I was wondering how that works.
So then Jamie goes, "Well, that's weird because UFC promotes fighting."
No.
It was 2 years later.
Yeah, it was
2 years later, and they were on some sort of like a company,
Old Smoky or something.
Yeah, they went to another dealership for like a meeting.
Really?
And he saw that bottle that's in his office that Moonshine that Harley endorsed, and he went to Grey Cook and was like, "Hey, you know, they denied my name because they said that they wouldn't endorse anything that had to do with alcohol. They just endorsed this moonshine company's moonshine."
Yeah.
And Greg said, "Let me see that," and contacted the lawyers and said, "Hey, so explain how this works. You know, why we can't name the dealership Moonshine." And they're like, "Well, the alcohol." And he took a picture of that and said, "Well, how does this work then?" They were like,
you know what?
Because if you look at it and go, well, it endorses drinking. Well, UFC, they beat the shit out of each other. And you have the biggest bar and shield in the center of that ring every fucking fight for 3 years they did.
Yeah.
So are you endorsing fighting then?
Are you endorsing all
you
just don't drink and fight.
It's any company, you know, I mean, like, Coca-Cola's not going to endorse you if you're going to do something that's going to possibly give them a bad name. You know what I mean? Harley Davidson.
Hey, we have Pepsi now.
Politics with Coca-Cola.
Well, I'll tell you what. That goes deep.
Yeah, dude. That's like you and Bill.
They're a racist company. They can go fuck off. But that doesn't matter. That's why we got rid of their machine.
That goes deep into anybody that's a big name in stunt riding. You won't see them riding streets. Anybody who's a real pinnacle in the game, that not like in the Harley scene, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about with the stunt bikes.
They have like a stunt riding CDL they got to protect.
No, but they have like if they have people that are spending real money to promote them, They don't want them out doing illegal shit.
Okay. So wait, let me ask you this: like sponsored riders, do they have to carry like insurance contracts?
I don't know how that works. I'm not one of those guys.
They won't ride on the street. It's all on track. It's all on clothes.
That's what I mean. So they have insurance they have to worry about.
Yeah.
One of the kids that I know is that is one of the greatest riders coming up in the game in stunt riding. His name's Gage Sutton, and he's probably 15 by now. I've been watching him for 4 years. I've known him for a long time. Good friend of mine, little kid, he's a young guy. And he's an absolutely amazing rider. But he'll go to his dad and he'll be like, yo, Dad, can I go ride streets? And he's like, no, because you have the ability to maybe have a Cowie deal one day.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be this guy that's out there doing illegal things.
The thing is, isn't it odd that you can't get to that point unless you go out to the street and you do your thing?
Yeah, but street riding is totally different.
It is.
I mean, the way that social media works and everything nowadays, like you have to go out there and prove your shit, and then you go out there and you get found, and then you do your deal, right?
Well, your best social media videos are going to come on the street.
Like Sarah Lazito isn't riding parking lots.
Like lot videos,
right?
Jason Britton.
Sarah Lazito
videos will do way better than lot videos.
Okay, Kyle Slager rides streets sometimes, but he has a deal with Icon that they shut down the city. They buy all the permits that they have to buy to shut down every stop sign and stoplight so he can go do what's it called? It's called like Ride and Destroy or some shit.
Yeah, it's like Hoonigan. Hoonigan's the same way. When Hoonigan's doing all that crazy shit, dude, the whole town shut down.
Yeah, that's right. What's really funny is watch him run a real rally. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, no, I'm serious. I want to set up an
There's
event
a car in the trees.
I want to set up an event where we can all go ride.
There's a car down the hill
and
pay the permits. So I'm going next weekend.
I want to know what it is.
Next week, I'm leaving Wednesday of next week to go to Houston, where there's an amazing team called the Elite Street Riders, and a lot of those guys are getting into Harleys too. They go out and they spend the money that they got to spend, and they rent a convention center parking lot to be able to do their event for 2 days. That's what I want to do. About $10,000.
So straight up in Cali did the same thing. So straight up,
Dude, my boy, I know a lot of those guys. One of my best friends is Bam.
That's how Nick and I know straight up because we're in Cali.
Okay.
And then you got Southern Cali, you got the Unknown guys. They do the same thing. They
got Monster back in them. That's a big brand.
Yeah.
They got a lot of.
But you never see those guys out fucking
on the street.
You don't see Twitch riding streets.
No.
Yeah.
Unless it's a shut down commercial or some shit.
And it's because, now, especially with social media, when they want to rent a convention center, rent a parking lot, those guys are on there going, who are these guys? And
goddamn right, they're looking up every one of you.
And they show them doing wheelies past the cop down. They're like, we don't want this kind of attention. What if something happens?
Yeah.
And we find out these guys.
Well, you got to pay the permits. I got a friend in Chicago named Cowboy that does it every year. There's a ride called Doomsday, and they have a street ride, but they also have a parking lot session for 2 days. But he buys the permits, he buys the insurance. This guy spends like 15, 20 grand to put this event on.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, it's expensive. There's got to be somewhere
it's
here
expensive
that I can get a lot.
Oh, we could definitely do it.
You know what I mean?
Well, now, back in the COVID days, we had the whole mall over here. So why not? How many Sounds of Power videos have you rocked down the fucking road over there?
If you're doing any of this on anybody else's property, and anything happens to you,
but I can carry the insurance.
The right waivers and insurance can happen.
Insurance
is pay the right people that you got to pay.
Sure,
it
can happen. A 2 day
insurance. No, it's not cheap.
It's not as expensive as you might think. It's not,
but it could grow into something huge. That's a big moneymaker for
my
everything.
idea was okay. We know at least a dozen guys around here that if you had a legit place once a month to go ride a lot legally, not have to worry about anything. That way, when you bring your truck, your trailer, everything out there, you're not fucking doing it for no reason. It may cost a little bit of money.
I'd be down, but 100%.
Well,
everybody talks to Jamie.
What if
I'm thinking like
this way?
How many acres do I have to buy?
I already thought that.
Right? I'm buying this year, so I
know. My house, paving, $50,000.
So 3 acres paving.
If it's say $8,000.
It's so hard to find places to ride though. This would work.
That would work.
I mean, that's definitely work.
Just an open place like an old.
Every weekend I'm going somewhere different to try to find somewhere to ride.
Say it's like but okay, say it's $6,000.
Yeah.
Okay. For all you guys to get all the insurance, to get the property owner to be like, okay, no problem, blah 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 blah, and they were say 20 of you
a month,
and you were like, Yeah,
well, no, that's what I'm saying. It would have
between
to be
20 people. It's $300.
How many people are going to really pay it?
That's really
well. You're going to have one guy that's like, oh, I'm
$300 is going to be breaking point. You know what I mean? So,
but what if you bought the property?
No, well, yeah. If I could buy,
you're talking about serious money, bro. I know what's acreage costing in Middle Tennessee right now.
Yeah, but here's the deal, though.
And to pave it,
how if it's $5,000 to do it, nobody's going to pay you. But if you were able to buy the property and turn it into and get it commercially zoned,
I'd
so
love,
that people could just pay a fee.
That's end game. That's end game.
I would do it. I would do it 100%. I would support it, and I know a few guys that would support it.
Fuel and parts.
Well, I don't know if you go that far with doing it. I mean, seriously, it's such a small community to try to like fund a spot that for people to go do that.
Yeah,
it's such a small community, bro. You got 20 guys that are really going to take it seriously. You're going to have a few guys that are like, oh, I want to be a stunt rider. And this is what I was getting to earlier.
Imagine though if you could advertise though, and you could tell people like, hey, learn how to wheelie.
Yeah.
Now there's some guys in Texas. There's a guy in Texas I know, one of the OGs that teaches that shit.
And you have 3 or 4 guys that you're like, hey,
you're like stage 4.
You can make your money back on the property, maybe.
No,
maybe.
Yeah, I've already been down a rabbit hole. You're stage 4 of my idea. Stage 1 is just getting the people together and getting the money together.
People
first.
are already there.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll throw in on it.
People are there and the money's there.
No, he's saying buy the property, make sure it's good.
And
just get a loan and try to float your loan for it. As long as you make your mortgage on
street
it.
Racing, he's talking about there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There ain't nowhere to go.
Well, that's the thing.
So all you have to do
once you go to a spot though that has like prep surface and stuff, you're not street racing anymore.
No, who cares? They don't want that. You want
a place to practice, bro. If I had a place to practice, dude, if I had a place to practice,
street racing.
I want a clean street with nothing on it.
Fuck street racing.
Whether it is street racing.
What are you talking about?
No, because the media.
I'm not taking that.
The media TV has fucked this up.
No, but how many
street racing is a car that you drove from your garage
to race
to the street,
here we go.
You race on the street.
Unless you want street outlaws,
let me tell you something.
And rent the street.
If you trailered it there, you are not street racing. You are drag racing.
I have an idea.
Let me tell you something.
Hey, this is something I'm working on.
About this. Yeah.
I am going to put together, and I can't promise, but I'm working on it.
All right.
I want to put together a bagger street race that's going to take place over 3 days.
Okay. They already doing that. Seabear and fucking
Isle of Man.
No. Drag race.
Drag race. For Isle of Man.
So you will check in on day 1.
Fuck drag racing.
Come on, man. Listen to me. You will check in on day 1, and you will ride to a location, and you will set a time. If you want to re-ride, you can re-ride as many times as you want. Break your stuff. Go ahead. But you're going to have to pack up your stuff, and only what you carry in a backpack or your saddlebags
is what you bring
to the next spot, and you're going to set another time. And then you're going to ride to the third spot.
That'd be
you're going
dope.
to set another time.
That would be kind of cool.
It would be fun.
3 days.
It would be really fun.
You're going to spend time on your bike. You're going to ride it from A to B, and you're going to drag race it 3 times.
You got to figure 100 miles or so in between.
Dude, I want to see a couple 300 miles between stops.
The last event
that's what I'm saying. And what that's going to weed out is the guys with the 190-inch super wazoo out to the end motor. Fine, dude. That's cool, man. You're going to blast me in the 8. That's cool. But I want to see you ride it 300 miles and then go set another 8.
Well,
and then
look
ride
at the Indian on the King of the Baggers. It barely made like 10 laps.
And ride it.
That
was the cool
The idea, and I can't say I came up with it. The idea comes from Drag Week. You guys know what Drag Week is?
Yeah,
Drag Week is pro mod cars, street cars, all this kind of stuff. And they do 5 days.
They drive around to the places that they're racing.
From spot to spot, and there are 3,000-4,000 horsepower pro mod cars
that are cruising
with trailers behind them, going from A to B to get where they're going.
That's pretty cool.
And they can't have support trucks. They can't have people helping them. It's you and a passenger and a trailer and whatever you carry.
And you can't blow your shit up on the first race because you got 4 more to go.
So you got these guys who actually,
that'd be a really cool thing for fucking baggers
and make chassis and make transmissions.
They wouldn't even have to be just baggers though.
We were at the last team.
I'll have classes for sporty guys, fucking Sportsters, Bagger, Dyna, and Softail.
I'll just
come out.
You know, the sporty guys can get there and set up everything.
I want to see that first, but I don't want to.
Because sporties rarely break down.
What I can tell you is, what I can tell you is, on any of the tracks, there will be no prep work on the track. there will be riding from A to B, and there won't be any help. So
I like it.
You better know how to work on your stuff, and you better know how to ride. That's it.
Well, no, you just have a fucking modern bike and don't worry about working on it and fucking ride the guy.
I'm tempted to show up with like a stock lowrider ass with a 460 cam and a pipe and just slay everybody.
I'll be honest with you. Hey,
I'm there.
You want to do a 3-day like that? Put me on a bone stock bike. Bone stock.
But by the end of it, you're the last man standing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You talk endurance and everything.
Your ETs?
I'll take a bone stock bike all day long.
Your ETs 3 would be great.
No, your ET's gonna suck on the drag strip, but you'll be the first guy at the bar at the hotel every night.
I mean, gas mileage. You know, when you're adding up to like 300 miles. You know, I only get 100 miles to a tank. So I'm 20 minutes of stop time right there. Three fill-ups basically.
You got to have a gas station in between each race or some shit. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, that's part of the game, right?
If we have a trailer,
backpack with fuel.
If we have a trailer,
carry a backpack with some gasoline in it. Don't worry if I crash.
No trailer.
Fuck up.
Driving down the road like this, like
saddlebags and a gas. And
I saw a stunt video not long ago where somebody was doing a wheelie.
That's it.
And then they laid it down and they got a jug from the damn film truck and was like filling their bike up on the ride. It was like, yeah,
hell yeah.
And then gave it back and just ripped a badass wheelie.
Hey, what feels better than free gas?
I don't know, man. Like now, you go out ride like awesome. Friday night and stuff like that. When you're with a bunch of guys, there's a good chance that somebody's paying for gas and everybody's going to fill up on that shit.
Yeah, that shit whoever's got a card, because I don't feel like going out.
Yeah. You got a card? Can I get some gas? Like, yeah, man, come on over.
The last event I was at, I know that there's some bagger guys that are getting into racing. Because even with just the 95 builds, like Seabear and Case at the last North Carolina session where I wrecked, I went down to just say what's up. I was like, yo, where's Jeff at? Man, I'm trying to say what's up. It's Seabear. Where's he at, man? What's up? I'm trying to say hey to him. Oh shit, they went out to race. Like, what the fuck are they doing racing? What are we talking about racing? And they're throwing them fucking them motors they've been building. Have you ever ridden a bagger? No, I mean, yeah, I've ridden a few of them. Yeah, definitely. I got to ride my buddy Sean Tutal down in Daytona.
A performance one?
No, not like nothing like that.
Yeah.
No.
There's a feel to those bags, especially when you get used to it. They handle amazing.
I rode 901 Stacks Harley in Memphis, and he's got a nice bike, but it's nothing like
it's a road glide.
It's a road glide. It's a road glide.
Yeah,
Black Charlotte's both got one. Yeah, 90 Stack. Actually, Black Charlotte's bike is a Road King that I think he converted.
Yeah.
But he told me it was a shitload of work.
It is.
Because I was looking at it and I was like talking about it and I was like, well, okay, these Road King prices are a little less than these, like 3,000 less than these bagger prices.
By the time you get the fairing mounts and the fairing and the whole thing.
And the wiring and the damn radio and
2014.
Yeah, talk to me about this for a second.
So 2014. Now this is 14 and up bike. They did not make a road glide. And the road glide didn't come out till 15. Right.
Really?
Yeah, because
what are the year space that they didn't do it?
14 was it.
So
14 was it.
14 they changed to a BCM.
Well, they changed the whole bike. They changed the frame. They changed the front suspension. So 14
the
up
frame was the same.
Totally different.
So is pre-14 skinny tire?
Yes. Well, no.
The frame's the same. They only changed the neck bearings and the front suspension.
One more question before you keep going.
Yeah.
When did they swap carburetors from carburetor to fuel injector? Because I heard some years they did both.
They did. So they started fuel injection in the Harley Davidson in 1995 as an option.
Holy shit!
But you can't get a fuel injection after 06.
But that was that.
You can't get
carbureted.
You can't get carbureted after
fuel injection was 07 and up. You can't get.
Okay, so I got some buddies that are like, yo, don't go over 06 because you can't convert it. If it is fuel injected, you can't go back to carburetor.
Let me tell you something.
You can, but it's a lot of work.
The reason guys stay away from the fuel injected bikes is if you make any changes on it whatsoever, you're popping $500 without a question.
So on my marketplace, like in my Facebook shit, on my marketplace, I've been looking for like skinny tire baggers. The money's put up. I'm just trying to find the right one, and it's like pre-04. So I need to maybe pre-06. It's easier for carbureted. I can go pre-06.
Pre-04 is going to be easier for carbureted because
what's the difference between 04 and 06?
They were a lot.
Magneti Morelli Delphi maybe.
No, by 05.
Magmar wasn't 04.
by 05, you had to order.
You guys are great. I want to sit with you guys every week, dude. This is fucking awesome. I'm learning a lot of shit.
So 07,
have a notepad.
07 is when they went to the 6-speed and Delphi. 06 and before, if you get a carbureted one, they're going to be very much the same, I think.
But 05 and later, I think carburetor was an ordered option.
Maybe,
I think by 05 was the year in the baggers that they made fuel injection standard, so that if you wanted a carburetor bike, you had to order it that way. Okay. So there's way less of them.
Okay.
So they're really hard to come by.
So over 05, I'm going to probably 05 and 06, you're going to end up having it's most definitely going to end up being the fuel injected that you're going to have to convert. Because I want a carbureted one. I want a carburetor.
Fuel injection is not bad, but just stay away from Magneti Morelli.
So why do you want to?
I want the same timing that I have in my Dyna because I'm so used to it.
But you can control your timing in a.
Yeah, you have way more.
Okay, look.
You tell us how you want it tuned, and he'll set it up.
If I'm gonna be riding both bikes, I don't want to be going back and forth between two completely different feels. I tried to ride a fuel injected road glide, and I just spent like 20 minutes on it. But there's no way I could
set up. Tuned? Yes,
it was built. It was pretty built. Like, I don't know how it was tuned.
Listen, even within these fuel injected bikes, you get a bike like that depending on what pipe they have, what cam they have, what tune they have.
How are you going to tune it to match my carburetor bike?
You show me a curve. And we can get you close.
Well, but
to the timing of when the clutch pops and how
the timing curve, the torque curve.
The torque curve is I don't think as much of an issue with what he's talking about as it is throttle blade progressivity.
Yeah.
So
I want the tension. I want the resistance when I hit the throttle. The thing. So I don't want it to be this super smooth feel.
So when you hit it,
I want to feel something. I want to grab something.
How fast to open that throttle. So that's
after 08. Well, you might have rode a electronic throttle.
No, it was pre that.
What year?
It was definitely like an.
If it was a cable throttle,
it was cable throttle for sure, 100%. Cable throttle, fuel injected.
Yeah, that's a Magneti Morelli then.
Had to have been.
So really, was only 99.
Yeah, 99 to 01, I think.
2000. Yeah, halfway through 2000, Magneti Morellis were gone.
I want something.
Do you have on your carburetor? Yeah. Is it a flat slide or is it a CV?
Oh shit, you're right. It's a Mikuni 42 HSR.
So you have a flat slide.
And the son of a bitch misses a little bit until it's all the way hot. You know what I'm saying? But not really that motherfucker.
So you have a flat slide, which is great. So a CV carburetor has a diaphragm and it uses vacuum. So when you hit it, if there's a lag on a stock carburetor, like a Harley stock carburetor, there's a lag because the vacuum
way better than the CV.
Has to pull it up to move the slide.
Yeah. Okay.
Where yours is a mechanical slide. So as you twist the throttle, the cable slides it up.
It's not a vacuum. It's
yours is actually closer to fuel injection.
So yours is much closer because I have a flat slide carb on my Sporty.
The Mikuni's
so a lot of guys throw a 42. A lot of guys will have a CV carb on a stock bike and throw a 42 and it feels to them like they got a cam because of how quickly it reacts.
It was such a huge deal. Like everybody, all my homies were like, yo, because I was torn between the Electron, that's like a no tune carb, and then the Mikuni HSR 42.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I was going with. I was like, okay, I found
Electron cool as fuck.
Okay, I found a Mikuni on Marketplace. That's 2.5 hours away. I can get it for $175 right now, brand new in the box. He never installed it, or I can spend $800. They were going to give me a deal. The guy I talked to, I don't remember where it was. It was some company, and they were like, "Yo, we can do the Electron for $600." And I was like, "Okay." So there's a $400 difference, but how many rides am I going to go to? What if something goes wrong? How many guys are going to have a jet kit in their fucking truck that's like, oh man, I got a jet kit for that Mikuni right away, or this Electron blows something, and I'm like, oh shit,
Electrons for really cool built choppers.
Yeah,
you know that it's a cool piece.
So I went with the Mikuni because it was trusted. It was like something that like all the guys that I know that stunt Harleys.
It's a 9-day difference.
Yeah. Oh my god, bro.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. If you're building a bike to wheelie it, Mikuni.
No matter what,
mine's not even tuned right.
No matter what you're doing,
mine's not even jetted right. But it was money.
So to bring this all back, we've talked about motor mount, suspension, brakes, all the carburetors,
for stunting a Harley.
The only thing we haven't talked about is what we're really known for, which is motor upgrades.
Yeah, but I don't think you need I'm going to tell you right now, Scott was saying something today. I think if I knew what I was doing, I think I could have wheelied it.
So why does he want a 95 kit?
That 883, if I, because like my 1200.
I don't, but until when I blow it up, when I blow it up because I'm bouncing the rev limiter, donutting, I've already talked to Jamie because I'm trying to figure out how can I work with moonshine.
Want one, but when you blow it up, you do want one.
Yeah, so but you don't need it.
I'm
need stock. That's what I'm saying. You don't need it.
But
so.
Okay. If I'm gonna buy a stock 88 motor for probably, if I get a great deal on it, it's gonna be $1,500.
I think you can buy brand new ones for like $2,000.
Yeah.
Right from Harley.
That's what I told the guy on Marketplace that's listed one right now for $2,000. I was like, yo, I got $1,000 cash. I'll buy that V20 right now. And he's like, no way.
He can't
120R.
I don't think he can fit that in his bike. I wouldn't even want that.
You don't want that much for wheeling.
No, why not?
No, you don't. It's too much back pressure.
It's too much.
You'll never sit it on the 12 bar, and it's way too twitchy.
Well, I would do a nice torquey 95S.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm going to do 120R," and I'm like, "You don't want a 120R on a Dyna, man.
Not if you're going to wheelie it.
He's not a wheelie guy. He's a power wheelie.
He's a
power wheelie.
Okay, not if you're scraping it.
To be able to do it, he had to put like a fucking 82 rear sprocket on.
Not if you're trying to jack the damn handlebars and hand drag it. The littlest blip on a 120, bro, it's over with, bro. You're going to backflip that son of a bitch.
You drag hand on your
No, I don't yet. I do on like the little bike, the Grom and shit, but not the Harley.
I've seen pictures.
I can grab my tank and ride with one hand, but not like very.
I want a Grom.
That goes back to
the Groms are so.
Oh my gosh, the Grom is the. Oh, it's the best thing.
Every once in a while, we get them traded in, and
it's so fun.
They sell them. I'm like, dude, the next time you guys get a Grom,
buy it.
Fucking sell it.
Buy it, bro.
Because they just got one in and sold it to the wholesaler for like $2,300.
Oh my god,
that brings up a really good point. So I talked to the wife about it. I don't want to be stunt guy. I don't want to play.
No, but let me tell you something.
But if I want to learn,
any Harley wheelie guy that's trying to learn how to use the back brake, buy a damn Grom, because there's no engine brake. Okay, so if you're at the balance point and you go too far, you're gonna loop that bitch. And guess what? It's a damn 125. You're gonna fall on your butt at 10 miles an hour, and it's not gonna hurt you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that was my question. So, like, if I bought a Grom, is that a good way to get a feel?
Rusty Butcher, who's like my Black Charlotte, not Rusty Butcher, Rusty Gallard or whatever his last name is, Gerard. Black Charlotte. He just bought a Z125 to learn the back brake control. 901 Stacks, same guy, trying to learn how to wheelie on a Harley. Try to learn brake control. You're not going to learn it on that Harley because there's so much engine brake.
You're going to wreck it. You're going to wreck it so many times.
But there's nowhere to get to where you need the brake. Like, you got to go so far to get to where you need the brake.
You got to stay at quarter throttle to get to that point where...
And stay in the gas and use the brake at the same time almost. But like the Grom,
is that how you slow them down?
I slow it down. I take my dyno all the way up and just kill the gas. If you kill the gas and it drops, you need to go farther.
Balance point, but you need to go farther. That doesn't know that. If you stay in the throttle and drag the brake, can you slow it down?
You can, but your brake will go away at some point.
Dude, don't talk to me about screaming brakes. Look at Seabear's video of him on the freeway.
No, that's the front. That's both of them.
Holy shit!
Them motherfuckers are glowing.
Oh my god!
What I was saying, I talked to my wife about this.
But you'll fade brakes, bro. When I was learning and I had that Gixxer the thing we were talking about, the Gixxer 06 Gixxer, I would go out and I would try to learn the foot brake, and I was just mashing it, right? And holding the throttle and just holding the brake at the same time to try to figure out this point.
But GSXR's rear brakes are like 40-30% on the front.
Okay.
There's no, it's a fade brake,
but it'll fade out.
Yes,
but when it gets hot, it'll go away. Now there's brake fluids you can use. You can redo the master and do Motul 600, which is high heat brake fluid or whatever. But you're gonna fade the brakes if you ride them all the time. You got to learn how to kill the gas and use the engine.
But the thing is, with especially the
Grom is the way to go.
The sport bikes and the Gixxers, especially the track bikes, the rear brake is literally like 20% of your braking.
You're right. No, you're right.
It's meant for trail braking.
100%.
It's meant for dragging to set a line.
100%.
It's not meant to slow you down 100%. Or to stop the bike.
100%.
So
when I'm hot in a turn and I'm drifting, I hit the rear.
For wheelies,
that's right.
For wheelies, it is not a good brake to learn because it's so soft, and then after you start using it, it fades immediately.
The best caliper for a foot brake, I'll just go ahead and throw this out there, is a P34 Brembo. The little small one piston or single piston P34 Brembo caliper. That's what the stunt guys use for their foot brakes. Some of the lot riders they use.
You don't want a lot of grab.
You want some. It's your foot, man. It's your foot. You got a lot of pressure with your foot. Yeah. But you will fade it if you're riding it.
So what I was saying,
ride it.
Was I talked to the wife about this, and like you said you kind of got into it and you met these guys that are stunting. You said, man, I want to do that. And like I said, I don't want to be a 12 o'clock scraping rider because that's a whole nother game, and that you get into danger of a whole nother level.
Right.
We've seen it firsthand.
I know what I'm doing.
I mean, I've seen
you will wreck.
I've seen Justin go down hard a couple times. I've seen. When you're back scraping, that's a whole nother level. I said, but what I'd like to be able to do is maybe ride out a good wheelie
and kill the gas and then not come down.
Rolling burnouts. Burnouts, I have to say. And I'm like against burnouts because I hate changing tires because I fucking do shit all the time.
You better get a bunch of them. Because if you want to.
But I was like, I want to at least be able to do rolling burnouts, and I'm willing to sacrifice a couple tires to learn.
Now you got
a couple in enough.
Now I do. Yeah,
but the cool thing about
isn't enough, but getting the takeoff pile and take some home.
Problem is with sporty is size. You don't do a lot of sporty tires. With the baggers, takeoff tires are a lot easier.
You can run a 140 with a chain
unless they're newer. All these guys are running these newer baggers, and it's a different width than the damn older skinny tire ones.
You can run a 140 bagger tire on a Sportster all day long.
Well,
can you?
We're going to see how those bridge zones hold up this year.
With a chain, you can.
He's going to.
My wife listens to this. She'd be so pissed at me, but I already blew that motor up once in about a couple hundred miles. I'm gonna blow that motor up before winter again.
I got a new spot. I got a new spot. I got a new spot that I'm not leaking to anyone, but it's the Harley spot. So I've noticed recently the stunt scene is kind of against the Harley thing. I don't know what's going on, but it's something between like the stunt riders. Every time a lot gets burned, they're like, "Oh, it's because you rode that loud ass Harley." Okay, well I found a spot that I've been going to, and you saw my last video, and there was something in the background with Nicole standing there.
Ooh.
Anyway, don't leak it. But I found a spot that's
he's describing it. Don't leak it.
There's
a video. Don't watch it.
Is there an 8th mile there with some?
There is, and it's 4 lanes.
Motherfucker!
And you can burn out. There's a damn burnout section.
I got my spot. I don't care.
It's the Harley spot. It's called Mexico.
You and me. It's in Mexico. Every tag we do is gonna be like Argentina or some shit like that.
That's right. Saturdays and Sundays, or we can all get together.
So there's an 8th mile with an 8th runoff.
It's about a quarter of a mile. It's about a quarter of a mile, and there's a great spot you can burn out. And the people that are at the place that's real close to it, that's a big ass place. They're like, I fucking love you guys.
Craig had a good one that day.
Kentucky.
I ended up having to do.
It's in Kentucky.
We went out road.
I'll drive to Mississippi at this point to get a fucking street race.
Let me tell you something, dude. There ain't nowhere to go, man. Shit, dude, I find it so hard to find places to take my Harley.
I have a 2-lane road where I live, and I will race there. But there's a little dip, so if you flip the coin and you get the wrong lane, you might be fucked.
All right.
You can race there, and you can pull in my driveway.
And
there's another spot that Craig calls the Speedway. And we went out like last month for
that's the spot I'm talking about
meetup, and
that's the Harley spot, bro.
And they all went out there, and I was riding out there with them, and we drank too much beer at the fucking spot.
Yeah,
and I fucking kid you not, I thought I was gonna piss myself, and I was like,
"Oh, there ain't nowhere to go."
I was maybe like a mile or two from where we were going.
Fucking find the woods, find a tree.
I didn't make it to the
no, I didn't make it out there, and I dipped because I thought I was gonna piss myself. So I hit this gas station. I pissed, and I kid you not, I made it 5 more miles down the road. Had to stop again. I pissed again, dude. I was like, oh my God, dude. I was like, I'm going to piss myself
Too many Harley guys are all about just going to the next bar and getting beers. I don't fucking drink. I don't drink unless I'm hanging out with you fucking guys, okay? So I'm trying to ride. I'm trying to wheelie.
When I do drink, I hate Harley guys.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. But when I do...
We don't drink either unless we're not doing anything else.
But talk about those Groms.
We're not doing anything else.
I remember being a stunt ride. So we used to go out.
Great.
I'm getting one.
We used to go out.
You gotta get one. It will teach you how to wheelie.
Back in Cali, they had this deal where it's like it would be like the day before or the night of, they'd post it. And we started getting blown up to where the cops started coming out and doing the whole thing. Where they showed up at this bar and the cops were like full force. So guys would
fuck you, Shane.
So guys would go out there and literally bang a wheelie in front of the cop car to get them to chase them. And then other guys would start going out there and stunting. So when it finally got blown up, we left. We're sitting there and I'm in like, I took the car out with my wife because I'm like, I know what's going to happen. We'll be in the car. We'll be good, right? So we get out there and I'm sitting like 4 cars deep at a red light on a 3-lane road. And here come 3 Groms all wheeling like 3 miles an hour through the cars. They stop, the light turns green, and they're all to where we all pass them again doing the wheelie. I'm like, that looks like so much fun. And
Those guys so in India.
Like, I want to learn.
I don't want to talk about the moped guys. Those fucking guys.
Those fucking guys in India, like Growl Laser and shit, like these guys that
18 people on a fucking one.
These guys,
my boy has 4, 5, 6 people.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, dude, like 2 or 3 people on a fucking bike on the back.
And one of them wearing no shoes.
And they called out, like somebody called out, like Sea Bear and somebody.
The worst that'll happen is they'll be freed from oppression.
Not long ago,
Who's one of the other guys that rides the Sea Bear all the time? That's all over his
Joe.
And we're shooting on the train tracks.
It was one of them, and they were like, "We want to see you two doing this shit." They were like calling out Sea Bear and his buddy. They were like, "We want to see you guys do this."
All the time. Stunt News is always finding some dude in India that's riding with no shoes and no shirt and 7 people on the bike, and he's like
around a pole on one wheel with a. And I'm like, how the fuck is this guy doing
with
this
no
shit?
brakes?
And a sheet of plywood.
But those guys are also like 4 deep in some nice Mercedes at 100 miles an hour, grabbing the e-brake and sliding as many times as they can before they hit a car or a berm and roll it.
If you get a chance to listen to the episode, we did one with Rotesh from India, and he's like, "Man, our bike scene here is so different from you guys because we don't have that culture."
I'll look it up for sure.
If you listen to any other episode, you'll be listener number 3.
Yeah. I'll be the 3rd listener. Yeah,
3rd listener. If you listen to any episode,
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's great.
Now we actually have a lot of customers that listen to our shit, but
I get a lot of messages from guys that are in shops all around the place that listen to us as well.
It takes time to build any brand, bro.
Yeah,
you got to put the work in.
I don't really market at all. I just put the shit out there.
You're wearing your work uniform right now.
Well, let me tell you something. Moonshine Power is making a name for themselves because I know guys that are shipping their motors from all over the country to Cool Springs, Tennessee.
I can tell you that I am busy as fuck, and
it's coming along, dude.
I feel bad taking my 2nd day off when I do.
It can pick up. It can pick up, bro. It will.
It's like, man, Mike's gonna kill me if I take my 2nd day off.
We're so buried, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I got a kid and wife and all this. Just it's hard. I mean, she gets mad when I spend too much time, and
dude,
when I was up front, me and her were struggling, and when we made the change to go to the back, me and her have done so much better that's the best thing that ever happened to me, dude.
Takes time to build the brand.
I'm sure you know.
It takes time to build the brand.
Our brand
I'm sure you're dealing with it now.
I mean, where it's like it's ridiculous.
Well,
I think we're like 40 motor builds in the queue right now.
For people than it is for you.
For me, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Without question. Oh, yeah. Me and you were a lot different and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I talk about that with Farrah because, Mike would be like, fuck him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, God, Mike's so much better at that.
I go to Aaron, I'm like, hey, man, get the money in the first 15 minutes or hang the phone up.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't do it.
I tell you what, he's come a long way. I heard him on the phone with the dating guy, and he's like, yeah, with all that, you're probably looking $5,800. If you really want to quote and everything, give me money. That's basically what it was. But
you have to keep it straight, bro.
Keep
it straight.
He just had one the other day. He's like, well, you quoted me $12,000 for a motor, and this other shop said 14. It's like, yeah, all right. Well, that's a lot of labor. Okay. Well, why don't you send me a parts list? He's like, well, why don't you give me $2,000 down? And he's like, as a deposit? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, what happens if I don't build the motor? He's like, well, then I keep your $2,000 because I'm doing a lot of work. He's like, oh, well, that's
exactly
work.
100%.
Dude, specking your motor takes about
like
2 or 3 hours.
You don't call your favorite restaurant and go, oh, I really love your soup. What's your recipe?
That's right. That's right. 100%.
So the guy literally goes, so it's going to cost me $2,000 to get a parts list. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, why? Well, because if I give you a parts list, you're going to take that to your guy. He's going to take my whole parts list and have my formula.
That's exactly right.
So you're going to either buy it from me and I'm going to build it, or you're going to kick rocks.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or you just
Dude, it's taking years to get him there. Dude, he fought that shit for a long time.
It takes time to have that confidence to tell somebody what you're worth, bro.
Well,
just have a parts list, do my recipe, and scramble the part numbers.
Right. Well,
that's right.
You talked about the moonshine
Just
break.
put all wrong part numbers on it.
All
wrong part numbers.
Oh yeah, I like that.
That's not a bad idea. I've been watching it for a minute though, but continue with what you.
It would take me like 45 minutes, half hour, but that would be super fun to actually take a quote and fuck up all the part numbers, send them all the wrong shit, and then have them build it, and then say, "Man, this thing fucking banged the thousands, the pistons, and all kinds of crazy shit." I might do that.
Listen,
that's pretty good.
No, listen, I know Jamie can build one of these bikes in about 35 minutes, but what he's actually doing is
Wait, parts or building it?
No, you build it. Well, whatever.
Yeah,
It doesn't
all of
matter.
it. All of it.
Whatever.
Tune it. We can tune it. It's cool.
But he is that song. Anything you can do, I can do better.
I absolutely know that.
But what he's really good at is like, because this is what his specialty actually is like making spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And shit. So if you
numbers.
want to send a list, he's fucking good at that. I've had him. I had him start doing that. Now he does it every time. He's like, fuck hell, and I'm like, we'll just scramble the part numbers. And then if they try to look shit up, I don't even know what this is. It doesn't come up. You can't find it in any book.
Oh, you eat that shit up. He'll spend the time. Yeah. That's
You don't want your formula to get out of you. You want to keep that shit to yourself.
He'll do it.
I'm
And
thinking.
it takes him like 10 minutes. And he'll get it to you.
I'm gonna be so. I'm gonna do
here's the deal.
that shit at home myself, and I'm gonna send it to somebody, and then I'm gonna hope they go take it to their builder and fuck it up.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna wait for that phone call. And be
And I
like,
tell him to change the prices. I tell him to change the prices so that the total's the same, but everything in between is different. And he's like, "Oh, well, that's a lot of work."
Yes, sir. I'll send you a parts list. No problem at all.
All I know
You
is
shot me 3 times.
when
no
I
problem
blow
at
this
all.
88, Moonshine's doing my 95. That's all I know.
We got one on the lift back there. Shane's doing right now.
A 95?
95.
It's not being cocky to say that if you want motor work, you need to come here.
Pay the
And it's
money,
not
man. Pay the money
because-
and have it done right.
It's because we do so many.
I want to
And
work.
that's where you learn. You know, guys take apart motors, put them back together
all the time.
But you know, Shane's a motor builder. I'm not. I do everything else. You know, he builds motors.
That's right.
So I mean, I've built some, and I can do it, but that's all really he does is big.
I've
build.
probably done 300 or plus in the last 3 years.
And 12
PDIs. That's badass. What is that? What is that?
It's a brand new bike that comes off the shit, man.
So it comes off the truck and you put the headset
It's
down
free
the bars.
money.
That's what
PDI means to Shane is 9 p.m.
Us experienced guys love PDIs. That's easy work.
Okay, all right.
You know, between Shane, Mike, Jordan, you know, even Marcus, the guys that are doing the building, they've done so many combinations of things through the last few years, especially, and even before that they have an insight that not many people have, man,
100%.
I did this combination and this piece here did not work that well with it. Change this.
And the biggest thing of that is how to tune it, knowing, because
that everything's different.
Harley kits, it's like, oh, well, here, we put this cam, this head, this, but we're taking a cam from over here, heads from over here, you know, compressions from over here, and we're going to all put it together with a different throttle body. And so the way it wants to tune is completely different. So to get the best numbers and get that nice flat torque curve and that good power band.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
I've yet to see.
Just sprayed a little crack.
I mean, I don't know if you guys can argue with me on this, but I've yet to see any other shop putting out flat torque curves like we do.
Nope.
No, dude, even on twin cams. We got
on everything.
We got twin cams that yank it up, bam, straight across the top.
Guys post their videos or their dyno sheets and stuff all the time, and I see them, and there's always that dip. There's always a dip.
I can't wait.
And I'm like, man,
because they don't understand how air compressors work.
It's an air compressor. That's all it is.
That's all it is.
It is. It is. But tuning is kind of its own thing, and you know, the only thing that really you learn with tuning is doing it.
And what I've learned from tuning is a lot of people chase numbers. They're trying to manipulate the air fuel to make the best numbers, which is if you build it right, you make the motor happy with the right air fuel, and it will produce what it produces.
Listen to what you just said. Make the motor happy. Not make the motor as strong as it can possibly be. Make it happy to where you can bounce that rev limiter and it doesn't explode every time you do it.
With Sea Bears.
It's
HPI.
Oh my god, dude.
That thing takes some abuse, bro.
You make it happy to where the air fuel
What is that?
is
Horsepower
good.
Incorporated? What is that? What is that?
HPI.
What's the company in Hendersonville? I just saw something not long ago, and it was
Thundermax?
Thundermax. That's what it is.
White House.
What's that guy? Colt.
White House.
Who's the stunt rider that like fell off the end of the ramp when he was jumping the new Evel Knievel, the young guy? What's his name?
Oh, I don't know that one.
I'll look it up right now.
I was just about to.
I just talked to him not long ago.
I don't know.
But he works with Thundermax, I think.
So Thundermax does ECMs. They do a really cool iRide suspension.
Air suspension.
Their air suspension
Badass
is
air
really
suspension.
cool. I haven't looked too much into them. I don't know what else they really get into, but I'm sure they're doing builds and stuff. I mean, I'm sure they probably have a shop and they probably fix shit and build stuff too. So they dabble in a little
They're
bit.
EFI though, huh? They're only fuel injected.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
The standalone ECM unit. So your ECM is removed and they put theirs in, and it's a wideband system.
Okay.
So
It's a kind
it's
of
a
an
closed
auto
loop.
tune.
the O2s, you got wideband, and you got short band, which is stock O2s. The stock O2s read quicker, but they don't cover as much.
Okay, so they're just a tuning system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Now they tune Seabear's bike, right? I think that's
HPI probably.
Let's see.
HPI maybe did Thundermax on it. They may have done.
Well, here we go.
Power
Seabear
Vision.
stunts keeping it pinned. That Thundermax tuner makes it so buttery
yeah,
smooth.
Thundermax.
So I guess he does run Thundermax. And this was March 15th, so I guess that wasn't too long ago.
They might have gave him one so that they could.
Might have been.
Well, he's got a whole fuel motor.
And I've been against
Might have
Thundermax
been.
because
HPI.
No, it's T-Man.
Was it
HPI
T-Man?
put it
Oh no,
together.
I'm sorry. Fuel motor
Yeah.
was the last one.
I want to find this kid though.
Or was it
T-Man.
fueling?
Yeah, T-Man did.
Fueling or fuel motor?
HPI is getting balls deep.
and I'm
T-Man.
against Thundermax just because I don't know it as
So,
well as a
in the
tuner.
in the twin
But as
cam
I've
days-
gotten better at tuning, I've learned to. The system of tuning the full pulls sucks for Thundermax, but it is a good system.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's just like
I don't know, man. I
You know-
we were wrapping
you
things
know
up
your
here.
system, but if it's something different,
been
it's just
recording pretty
it's one of those
It's
things.
getting to be
that's-
that
We've been having a good
it's
time.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's
Yeah, we're having a good time.
It's a good ride,
Having a good
man.
time. I've had a
I'm
great
good.
time with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I'm gonna go
Yeah, it should.
through and
We're
get
out of
everybody's
whiskey, so it's the
Instagram.
time of the day.
I gotta pee. I gotta pee like you wouldn't believe, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna make it.
We're cutting
I
the
gotta
show
pee.
off because Roy has to take a leak.
Yeah, I gotta pee.
I'm not gonna make it to the spot.
It's just like another ride for Roy
That's
right
right.
now.
Yeah. I drank too much beer, dude. I gotta pee.
Well, hey man, thanks for having me.
Well,
I
yeah, dude,
appreciate
thanks for
it.
coming
I hope
on.
that,
Yeah,
I hope
appreciate it.
that
Thank you,
somebody
man.
who watches this that wants to try to build a wheelie
Yeah.
bike can benefit from it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
me, you, and Cody are going to come out on the patio and drink.
So I had a guy
100%,
email me.
let's do it.
I had a guy email me the other day because I did a blog post on the website about Harley battery terminals and aftermarket batteries. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys
I
saw
remember
all
your
the stuff.
post.
Yeah. So this guy emailed me the other day and was like, dude, thank you so much for your post. He's like, I was trying to put, he had an aftermarket battery in his bike and he was trying to put the Harley battery back in and he was using the spacer and couldn't figure out why everything wouldn't work. And so, like anybody does, you go and fucking Google shit.
Right.
And my stuff came up and he watched it. He was like, dude, he's like, thank you. I appreciate that. It helped me understand why I didn't need
You should
that
have said,
thing,
"Hey,
you know?
put those spaces in an envelope, mail them to me."
We need those spacers.
I save that shit. A battery goes bad, I pull everything off that shit.
Oh,
Put in
yeah.
a little bag, dude. I save all that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because 50%, well, 80% of those you come in, you're like, God damn it, they didn't use the spacer.
Yep.
Fuck. You gotta dig through your stash and then put them
Yep.
back, put them in until the battery's right every time you do a
Well,
service.
again, check us out, talkingrap.com. I'm going to put everybody's Instagram up on there. I don't know. I'll see if I can do feeds I'll do some feeds from everybody too. So
also check Grinder.
Royce Grinder, Big Red Rider.
That's right.
Fuck yeah.
Oh shit! I'd love to sit with you guys on Wednesdays, man. Anytime I can join you, man. If you don't have another guest, man, just let me know.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
hey,
Love to hang out.
At least after you check out Grinder, call in with your Grinder.
Oh, call him with your.
You said you were going to be
You know what I'm
looking at
No, I probably won't. Actually, I don't want anything to do with your fucking Grinder account. You keep that to yourself, bro.
We'll make $1 million just making videos
We
of pissing.
spend
$1 million worth of game.
We spend way
One
too much
piss
time
and one
together.
Did you say $1 million? Hey, did you say $1 million worth of gay? Because that's what it is.
Game.
I get you some money.
that push run tube. Was that you or Marcus? And he's like, look at that. And I was like, what? He's like rubbing it. And I was like, just stick it in there.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, that was this last weekend.
I showed you, you're like,
He's like, he's like rubbing the edge of the. And he's like, you see that? You see that? I was like, just stick it in there, man. You go fuck around at the edge.
Damn.
And he's like, no, man, we're at work.
And then those are always,
you didn't talk protection.
like high pressure situations.
talk
Like the customer
protection of a
standing
bike.
outside going, "Where's my bike?"
What kind of oil cage do you guys run?
sliders,
Yeah,
You know,
we might have to do another one. Talk about that.
bunking.
Yeah, for sure.
Bunking. Look at if you want
Protection.
sliders, look at bunking.
No, don't run that. That's way more expensive than the guy that I use. That his name is go by DG Sliders. Dude has some kind of wicked replacement thing that when they grind down, he'll send you free ones for the shipping costs.
Really?
That's amazing, bro. Instead of paying
DG Sliders?
DG Sliders, and
That's a good one.
Because bunking's from Cali, and that's who I used to use from a
they're
builder.
awesome. They look
good,
great. They're
but
beautiful. I understand. And I run a bunking bar. It snapped when I wrecked, but it was some freak accident. And but it is super strong. It protected my bike. I didn't have to replace the tank. I didn't have any kind of paint work. The bunking bar did exactly what it's supposed to do. For $300, I'd buy it again. You know what I mean? It's perfect. It's great.
On Jeremy's bike, it fucking destroyed it.
The
Well,
sliders.
that's because he was on his phone when he wrecked stoned.
He got off road, and then that thing dug in the ground,
And flipped his
then
bike.
bam, 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 bam.
Which
Yeah.
is gonna happen
Sliders
with
though,
anything.
for sliders for Durlin, like the Durlin that you use on the ends of them that you replace if you're trying to learn how to drift and you're going to wear these things down to the point where your exhaust is scraping. Go DG Sliders is great. I work with them. He gave me a deal, and I think, but he really didn't even give me a deal. I think it's something that he just offers for everyone. You buy their parts, you buy a one-time buy, which is cheaper than the other ones, and every time you need to re-up on them, you pay the shipping.
Really?
He makes them in his damn
That's
garage,
awesome,
and he's
man.
from California.
Oh,
He's
that's
a
awesome.
Cali
That's
guy. He literally bevels these things. He buys sticks of Durlin by the fucking 10-foot stick, I don't know, or whatever. You pay the shipping, and he sends you new ones when you grind them down. That's pretty damn
cool.
solid.
That's
you
awesome,
break them.
man.
You
That's
break
awesome.
them. Yeah, it's
I
pretty
like
solid. He does
and who is that?
He does the upper shocks.
DG Sliders.
DG Sliders. He does
DG
the upper shock
Sliders.
mounts. It's also on my page. Look at every post. Anything that I post, I tag him in it.
Hell yeah.
Great company, great dude. The customer service is awesome. It's a cheap product and it's a softer Durlin. So like I've had some of them where like you slam the cage and it cracks. This one
doesn't bounce.
No, this one doesn't bounce. It takes it pretty well. It grinds down fast, but he replaces them. So I mean, but they don't explode. Some of them, the harder Durlin. I've learned this on stunt bikes with the cages. We use different types of pucks. The harder Durlin, it'll break.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you have to replace them. But the softer ones, they'll just kind of impact and then grind down. DG Sliders.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I like
company.
I think
and bunking. I mean, for the cages, they're strong. I mean, I don't have any.
Yeah, they're good shit.
I don't have any.
Nick's little brother works for bunking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good shit.
Just throwing that out.
Hit the outro.
Yeah. Oh, I already did it.
My man, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
That's the wrong one.
Turn it up.
Yeah, brother.
Thanks, man.
I'm gonna go
Appreciate
pee.
it.
Nice to meet you,
Shane,
man.
nice to meet you,
Oh, yeah,
man.
brother.
Appreciate it, man. Mike,